fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got rid of the outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taken Anderson! Anderson's up top!
Oh my god! Oh! Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, here we go!
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
Yeah, so we're using the VRS Direct Force Pro this year. We have a wheel adapter right here, so I'm using the rim I used last year. But the motor right here produces a lot of power, a lot of precision, and it helps me just feel the car more, feel the car a lot quicker, especially this week we're at Sonoma. I can feel it when it hits the curbs, any little change in the car, the wheel reacts a lot quicker than your typical gear-driven or belt-driven wheel. For example, if you're on oval and the rear tires break loose, force feedback on it corrects a lot quicker than your typical wheels. There's no resistance pretty much as far as being able to make quick corrections on the wheel. So all that, paired with how precise the wheel itself is, it makes it to where it helps you as a driver, to find that extra hundredth or thousandths of a second. So when you're getting a direct drive wheel, especially the VRS wheel, it's heavy duty. It's got good weight to it, it's not a plastic toy. Feels like you can really beat up on it. A lot of people have issues with their plastic gear-driven wheels just kind of breaking after a couple years. This thing just feels like it can go forever. The forces are really strong where if you might have to let go of the wheel if you get into the wall. You can adjust all that with the settings on it and stuff, but the wheel itself doesn't play around. It's got way more strength than you could ever need, and that's what makes it good, that you can adjust that down to whatever the car needs. So initially you'll be able to get the controller box and the motor together, and eventually you will be able to add a rim onto that option. They'll also be including a button plate on it to put on the rim to have all sorts of different buttons and functionality. Also, pedals are coming, so that's a pretty big deal as well. Hasn't been covered too much, but the goal is to also have pedals to go along with the Direct Force Pro. So that's pretty exciting. The wheel feels good. It feels very much like a real world steering wheel. You just kind of feel like what you would imagine the car to feel like. A real steering wheel in a car is very smooth, it's very direct, very quick, and that's what this wheel feels like.
This is a place which, for all intents and purposes, we get focused on high-speed action. This is a place, for all intents and purposes, we look back to the past and see just how amazing this racing has been. Who remembers the time when a first win against a teammate who was leading the championship meant oh so much in a caution-fueled 8-caution 64-lap thriller that was this Watkins Glen circuit. This, by all intents and purposes, is the track, is the place. This is where miracles get made and where drivers who want to prove that they are quick go out and prove to everybody that they are quick. Welcome to upstate New York. Welcome to V8SCOPS 2021 and round 7 of your virtual racing school V8SCOPS season. We're here with the Too Easy Finance Glen 250. I'm Jake Sperry here, bringing you all of the action here today alongside Cameron Dance for the ride of a lifetime here as we get ourselves situated with all of the racing action from 2 different races here today. The first and foremost is to work out who is golden ticket hunting here today when it comes to Super Split 2. Cam, we're going to get a little look down with our coverage brought to you by Google Earth, as we will get a little look in a little bit on just what this circuit means. But Watkins Glen, it's high speed, it's the short cut layout with the chicane on top. This is all about positioning and overtaking.
Yeah, it absolutely is, and it's all about making sure that you're in the right place at the right time as well, with the fact that you've got very few passing opportunities and braking zones to try and maximize the sort of pace you can possibly get out of the vehicle. It's all about making sure you can put yourself in the right position when you need to be and making sure you've got the defense that you have.
Absolutely, we zoom on in. We're not a million miles away from Albany, New York, as we make that descent on down in, and there is the Watkins Glen circuit hidden and nestled between the trees. You can see we're not running the boot here today. We are just running this fantastic 7-turn circuit, still nearly 4 kilometers in length despite that, and a place which has held so many amazing elements of racing. And on top of that, the resting place of the late Francois Sever, of course, a driver who, by all intents and purposes, could have been a multiple-time Formula One world champion in the era of Sir Jackie Stewart. But we're running this one clockwise. The 9 TDSs, the inner loop, the outer loop, 6 and 7, those two 90-degree corners. Very, very important to try and get correct. But we are looking at this being a very tough battle. Super Split 2 is what we'll be zooming into in the next couple of moments. And Cam, this is a tough one because drivers from 41st to 80th, or as we could say here today, 41st to 81st, 42nd to 81st, have got that opportunity to go and get the racing done. They qualify this one from where they qualified over 18 hours of pre-qualification. And now it's going to be all about who can find that element of pace as practice is underway. You've got Jacob Knight, currently the quickest of them all, in the number 24 machine at this moment in time. Jamie Stokes there in second position. But a lot of names that you wouldn't necessarily associate with being in Split 2. You can see Thomas Hinge, Glenn Postlethwaite. You can put in there the likes of Rudd and Loxton, all there when they really shouldn't be, including Michael Taliancic as well.
Yeah, certainly a few outliers here today where you normally see them in the likes of Split 1 on a very, very regular basis, but this track is very, very well renowned for causing some dramas in the pre-qualifying department of the fact that you end up having to get a draft and working very, very hard to get yourself into top split. And if you miss that very, very slight margin, it can make the difference between being in split 1 and missing out and having to deal with your way through split 2. So there's definitely a few drivers out there who can very well be challenging for the race win, and then there's obviously a few others who are normal split 2 contenders who could easily be out there and challenging for the win to move on to split 1 as well.
Yes, so this is going to bring things into a bit of a perspective. There is Glenn Postlethwaite in the 95 Synergy Sim Racing machine, making this run up the turns 2, 3 and 4, passing Madison's wall there on the outside of turn number 3. That's where we often see things going a little bit awry from time to time. There is Mark Newton, the middle finger racing machine out there at this point in time. MFR looking for a really good result today. Nice paint design on that one for this round on top of it as well. I am loving the purple after what was the Liquid early on. And then the Ventra IP machine of Brett Loxton, the Zuva Racing Unicorn, is out there at this moment in time. That Unicorn will be on the machine from now until the end of the season. We have had that confirmation of that as a little descent into the pit lane comes into play. Worth talking about as well, 32 laps here, Cam, in terms of this race, which means that 32 laps are going to go by very quickly. Track position is going to be key. Matt Danson out there racing as well in the Altus Esports outfit. Altus Esports, of course, one of the very few sim racing teams out there. I think the only other one since Coanda to have their own sim racing house.
Yeah, their recent announcement of their sim racing house recently, very, very big news in the AusNZ community with the fact that it's the only one within Australasia. So it's going to be interesting to see what lies ahead for Altus and who's going to end up joining in on the party that Bo Albert is currently hosting himself there, and it'll be interesting to see how they're all going to go. But nevertheless, it's a very, very big announcement for the team and one that they've certainly all been looking forward to.
Apparently the old Esports team are excited to see Matt Danson turn right tonight, and well, that will be something very much worth keeping in mind at this moment. So a little spin there in the background as well, going on through as they reach the final section, and onto another lap, and more battles to be had up and down. There will be your pole setup for this race. Luke Rosella for Synergy, managing to qualify the car 42nd. Of course, no Brian Borg here for this one. Did qualify in P40, did Brian Borg, but ultimately the PC has apparently blown up, and that will be the end of that. Looking for any attempt to move forward in racing here today. But this is the time that you'd say, Cam, that final checks are in order. You work out, okay, what have I got in the setup that works? Do I like it? Do I not like it? How is everything stacking up? Looking at the track temperatures as well here in practice, very interesting to note that it is cold conditions. In sim time is 8:11 a.m. It is 21 degrees out there on circuit, and it is going to be a very tough challenge for all of these drivers here today, because they're going to be dealing with bucket loads of oversteer through a number of these corners.
Yeah, they certainly are. Ty was really going to be playing havoc with a lot of these drivers' heads and making sure you can look after those tyres, especially those left-hand side tyres, the left front and the left rear, is going to be very, very important to making sure that you're going to have something to be able to battle your way through the field if you're a little bit down the order, or being able to hold off your contenders behind you who are going to be trying to look after their tyres just as much as you are. But if they can do it just that ever so slight bit more, you're really going to be in struggle street later on. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see what the strategy is going to be. The undercut's been very, very well known to be very strong here, so it's going to be one of those strategies that a lot of drivers are probably going to favour towards, but we might see an overcut strategy work if the racing does go the way of that strategy.
And also it's worth keeping in mind when it comes to this racing, how it funnels through 2, 3 and 4 out there on this circuit, Cam. This is a very tight track. There's a reason why there were 8 cautions once upon a time when Jake Burton picked up his only career win to date here in SCOPS, and that is because it does get tricky, it does get difficult, and it is also a little bit tough when you all rush into a corner and ultimately someone sideways. You're going to need a lot to recover that, as we are on board with the Wheelie Bins Mayhem Republic machine of Vincent Skilbeck in the 091. I think the keys here is that this is going to be a very, very difficult race to go and get done cleanly, so drivers need to be head on a swivel, especially in the opening laps.
Yes, certainly. It's very, very busy in the first few laps of this race, especially in these machines where everybody's separated by barely anything, a tenth or less between the top 10 or even further below, more towards the top 20. It can really cause some issues if someone has a very slight mistake, and it can bottle up the entire field pretty much and start to cause a few dramas with the fact that some drivers see opportunities where others don't, and it can cause a little bit of drama. And should the safety car be required, it could throw the strategy up in the air a little bit for a lot of these drivers as well.
Strategy is king in these sorts of races. You've always got to keep that in mind, especially after last time we were here with you at SCOPS at Donington Park, where this Super Split 2 came all the way down to the final couple corners and made a really good showcase of a few drivers hoping to become immortal around this place. Just a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't had the chance to already, wherever you may be watching this, be it Facebook, be it YouTube, you have the chance to like, to share, to subscribe, to do all of the traditional elements that you would when it comes to streaming here, to make sure you keep up to date with all of the action that not only SCOPS has to offer, but SimSpeed TV does as well, as we bring ourselves closer and closer to the start of action then around this place. Checker flag will be coming out in the next couple of moments. The final preparations then being done as Rick Seabra finds wall, and wall going through that bus stop chicane, as the checkered flag then does find itself to completion. Next couple of moments, we'll be bringing up for you the starting grid then for this Super Split 2 race here at Watkins Glen. 32 laps worth of action then to be put into the books in the next couple of moments, documented and worked out. On pole position then will be Luke Rosella for Synergy Sim Racing. Alongside on the front row is Andrew Mogridge for the ride, with Josh Morris going from third position and Stephen Kokoschka in P number 4. 3 Synergy cars in the top 6. Glen Postlethwaite goes from 6th, but in 5th position is Thomas Hinds for the Henry James Racing crew, with Christian Smart there in 7th position and Kyle Stokes in 8th, which means 5 Synergy cars in the top 8. Simon Chadwick, first of the 9.5 cars, goes from 9th position, and then Brett Loxton rounds out the top 10.
And you're going to have Michael Talianch, that's been the first driver outside the top 10, joined on row 6 by Logan Barnett. Then you're going to go to Vincent Skilbeck and Sean McNamara on the following row on row 7. Row 8 is going to consist of Jacob Knight and Dylan Rudd, with Wade Shetty and Mark Newton just outside the top 15. And then the top 20 rounded out by Troy Maguire and Craig Jones.
Top Parks will go from 21st with the Taipan Esports machine of Hayden Harrison in 22nd. James Chastenerth is going from 23rd place, with Rob Harris in the 24th position on the grid. Matthew Brunt and Christopher Ireland have row 13 to themselves. Robert Crisdale and Steve Jenkins then will get things all going from the 14th row. Jamie McKnight a little bit down the order in 29th alongside Brenton Nitschke.
Then you're going to have Matt Danson in the Altus Esports machine starting alongside Andrew Ritchie on row 16. Row 17 is going to be Michael Schroeder and Jordan Gallagher. Rick Sebra and the final rest of the drivers. That 35 car grid is going to be on its way into 2-1 very shortly.
They certainly will, and they'll be getting that focus on. They've got 3 minutes to grid. There is the race length, 32 laps, 125 kilometers of action, 50% of a fuel cap that they have in terms of restriction. Safety car possibilities are high for this one. No surprises around this place when one small accident can send a huge chain reaction through this field. Everyone's going to have to be looking at that run towards turn number 1 as a key. Those on the even-numbered positions would potentially have an advantage. They've got the rubbered inside of the circuit to go and play with here today as they make that charge forward. Those on the dirty inside the circuit will be looking to move on over left as early as they possibly can. But mark up all of this to some amazing racing action. The hyperdrive car there in 3rd position will be looking for a really strong run today. You've got everybody up and down the order hoping that they have what it takes to get a golden ticket. And as 3 minutes comes up on the clock, the engine notes are about to rise here at Watkins Glen. Let's get things ready. Let's get things steady then here as we get our little looks on. There's the green flag and there is the go. Wheel spin from Morris then from the front of the grid, and there's already a spin there in the back. Someone's gone around, so they make that charge towards turn number 1. Didn't quite see who it was. It's one of the S95 cars. It's Simon Chadwick in trouble then in the early goings. And there's another spin there. It's 2, 3, maybe more in a bit of trouble then as they go through. Just a couple spinners off the start. The switch panel machine around. That's Troy Maguire's Taipan car in all sorts of hurt. Kyle Stokes struggling then as we're going to go 3 wide as we head towards that bus stop for the first time with Hinsey there in the mix as well. What a run from Josh Morris to make sure he got that sorted.
Yeah, it wasn't the best of launches from Morris off the line, but he certainly kept going anyway as Chadwick's crawling towards the bus stop in what's a very, very wounded car. And there's a few more off as well in the background. Robert Crisdale having a little bit of issues further back, but back at the front, still going on at the front. Hinsey contact with Josh Morris, nearly ending up off the road, and he's just going to hold on to it in the end, but getting swamped from behind by everybody else trying to gain positions.
And a big hit as well, Smart and Brett Loxton. And Loxton finds himself through, and Christian Smart's going to lose about 3 places, 5 places here from that one. Suddenly it opens up down the inside, and Loxton's going to get a hit here. Taliancic then ultimately is turning around, and we'll have to try and find a way through. So big dramas going through in the early stages of this race. Taliancic was on the dirt bike earlier on today, saying first time he's been there in a while. He got as squirrely as he would have been fishtailing on the dirt.
Yeah, certainly not the start that Taliancic would have hoped for at all, and just locked the rears ever so slightly on the way in, and that was pretty much it from that point onward in making contact, and unfortunately not having the race that he will have wanted on the way out of turn 1 there.
Absolutely not. Not the ideal start of things at all. And now you've got 2 packs worth of racing. Luke Rosella still leading this one up at the front. But Dylan Rudd in the 9.5 machine is going to be the next biggest chaser at this point in time. So 7 away in the break. Hinds, Stokes, Morris, Kokoschka, Postlethwaite, Mogridge and Rosella. And crucially, 3 synergy cars in the top 4 as things stands. The imposter among them, Andrew Mogridge, who'll be certainly hoping for a good run as he takes the aggressive line through turn number 1 at the 90. And up the hill, they will take that charge once again.
Yeah, Mogridge is certainly there to spoil the party for Rosella, who's got a little bit of a better run out of turn 1, and now that's going to leave Mogridge susceptible to an attack from Postlethwaite as they head on the way down towards the bus stop, closing and closing. As Postlethwaite looks to the inside, but not going to be close enough to have a go this time at buying a little bit of defense going on just behind them, as well as Kokoschka and Stokes having it go.
That is offense. That is Josh Morris through with a really great run up through the S's. So that hyperdrive machine on a great recovery, as there you can see everybody trying to work it out. James Chastaneuf on back. Chastaneuf's had a fantastic start here. He's up 10 places already in the opening 2 laps, and behind him there's already a little move. Jacob Knight and Hayden Harrison's Type A machine trying to look to the inside, not going to get there. Brett Loxton now with a chance to attack this one, gets the inside for the final corner, and that is a comfortable move done. And a lot of these machines looking incredibly squirrely. We're 3 wide, heading towards turn number 1 at the 90, as Kokoschka gets absolutely freight trained by Hinsey and Stokes.
You're going to lose 2 positions there, but he might be able to get them straight back at the bus stop if he can set the run up very, very nicely. Hinsey on a recovery after what happened early on, getting shuffled out a little bit, and Kokoschka's going to try and come back at him, as that is Craig Jones off the road and around at turn 1.
Drop bed, drop the car. We are unsure what's happened there. We might be able to go to a virtual racing school replay on that one in the not too distant future. Stokesy, I believe, getting a huge drift on there, going through the bus stop, and suddenly a shot to the back against Chastaneuf there. That's Mark Newton trying to find a way through the MFR car. Not going to get there. Suddenly, door opens up for Jacob Knight, who wants to get through, and Brett Loxton. We're 2 wide, 2 deep here, as we're going to go into this next left of 6, and we're going to stay as such. There goes Loxton.
That's not gone well at all, and that's involved 2 of them. Everybody else managing to avoid it. Nearly contact through the middle as everybody's trying to avoid the stop car of Mark Newton, but looks like everybody's gotten away scot-free, but not Mark Newton and not Brett Loxton at all there.
And there's been another spin as well. Steve Jenkins has been in a bit of trouble as well. And Rob Harris in the Mark 1 car around then. He's got the wrong number on, so we'll get a penalty for that here on the 50 car, not the 13. And ultimately some big bust-ups then, as they've gone through and worked it out. Glenn Postlethwaite, though, will look up further forward, because he's fighting hard for second place now against the Race on Oz machine of Andrew Mogridge through this long right carousel here of turn number 5, the outer loop, so to speak, going forward. And now some more battling here as Harrison and Chastaneuf look to try and figure it out. And I'd like to point the attention further forward as well, because we've got it on for the lead at this point in time, and this is getting all sorts of dicey, and we're only on lap 5 heading to lap 6.
Yeah, Postlethwaite's trying to set up Mogridge, who's going to have to go defensive on the way down towards turn 1. He's going to look to the inside, though, is Postlethwaite to get the move done on Mogridge at turn 1. But Mogridge is going to sweep it around the outside, have momentum on his side. And little squirrel there from Postlethwaite trying to get the power down, but he's managed to get it down just well enough to get that position straight off of Mogridge and now be on the hunt for Rosella. But whether Mogridge is going to be able to come back at him, that's the next question, as he's got Josh Morris all over his tail.
Yellow border or otherwise, it's a wonderful, wonderful pass that is done. And suddenly, there was Josh Morris trying to get in on the act and move back up into P3 here in this one. But he's got to be careful he doesn't open up his own attack, because Kyle Stokes now sits comfortably on the rear, a former most improved driver of the year in this SCOPS series. But now you can look behind. You've got Thomas Hinds there in the mix trying to get on in. Every single little look is going to just make checks and balances and gaps and non-gaps in this field. They're going to have to be so alert to it. There goes Kyle Stokes, sliding as well in the background. In sympathy is Dylan Rudd, and Rudd's going to lose a place as well to Vincent Skilbeck. What a good race Skilbeck's having to start.
Skilbeck certainly having a very, very nice race so far with a few positions gained as well, but it's certainly all going to be on at that front of that field at the moment, and mistakes being the big critical point that everybody seems to be making at the moment, and just leaving the door open for everybody else to come on the attack.
Yeah, and this is what we've been seeing here. Drivers just getting a little impatient in the early goings. This is a tactical man's race out there, or a tactical person's race, you could definitely say. Chestnut once again up the hill in 14th position, attacking Hayden Harrison. These two drivers started 22nd and 23rd respectively. To the outside looking then as they go into the bus stop with a bust up. Both of them going to go spearing on, and can you keep it out of the wall? Hayden Harrison can't keep the Taipan car out of trouble.
Yeah, it didn't look like it was a major impact, but he's going to drop a number of positions as a result, and is slow to get going as well, trying to get a few gears back into it. But at the front, it's still well and truly on between Mogridge and Postlethwaite. None of them have changed position at this time, and they've started to close in on Rosella as well. So the lead battle is certainly going to be on at the moment. As up the inside is going to go Mogridge. Postlethwaite's going to hold it around the outside. This time his roles are reversed, and out of the turn one is Morris getting a little bit sideways, but it's so close between these three. It's anybody's guess who's going to be taking positions.
It certainly is. Top five getting a little bit of a gap now between Hinz and Kokoschka out there at this stage. So now that focus once again comes into play. Luke Rosella, by the way, has led every single lap of this race so far, all 8 of 32 at this moment, and has been very patient about the way he's been racing. Hasn't been able to get away from these drivers, so he'll be in a little bit of a disadvantage as we look back at that battle then between, I believe, Kyle Stokes and co. Here, this is Vincent Skilbeck just behind, and then you've got, I'll correct myself, that is Kokoschka, because that is Kyle Stokes through now into place. And here comes a look from Dylan Rudd in the 9.5 machine down the inside, but he's going to be on the outside for this final corner here, turn 7. Not going to be able to get that done just yet. But what I was going to be saying is that Luke Rosella's at a disadvantage here at the front. He can't save fuel. This is a fuel savers race.
Yeah, he's going to be struggling to save any sort of fuel here, and he needs to push as well because of the fact that he's got Postlethwaite breathing down his neck as well, so he really can't afford to save too much fuel, whereas Postlethwaite and co can all just breathe off the throttle a little bit. As drive-through penalty there for one of the drivers early on due to what's going on. Christopher Island being involved in that early contact is getting a drive-through penalty for that. But like I was saying, Rosella can't really save fuel, whereas everybody else can just breathe off the throttle that ever so slight more and save a bit more, which is going to help them in the pit stop massively.
It absolutely will do. And these 5 at the front, well, they're going to all be thinking about when's the right time to make that stop. So they'll be looking at this. They'll be hoping there's going to be somewhere they can go. And here goes the look already. Postlethwaite going to make a charge for the race lead down the inside at turn 6. A lot of room given there by Luke Rosella. The two teammates making sure they're not going to fall foul of rule 1 of sim racing, which is don't hit your teammate, by the way. And that does that. Suddenly, you got a little look then from Josh Morris trying to get to the inside, and Hinsey is just going to shepherd himself to the outside to get it done. That is highway robbery by Thomas Hinz.
Yeah, and he's looking like he's about to make up another one as well, with Mogridge not having the best exit out of it, turn 1, and that's compromised his run all the way up through the S's and down towards the bus stop as he's going to be closing and closing. Is Hinsey trying to get this move done? Mogridge not looking to go defensive, but it's just not quite in the end for Hinsey, so you have to sit behind it for another lap.
Yep, another lap then in the books. They will have to be patient and wait and look for another chance from side by side in the background, by the way. Skilbeck way out wide. It's going to be in the marbles not too soon. Part of iRacing's dynamic track system. Marbles fully animated, fully implemented, fully make things happen. And Dylan Rudd comfortably getting that one done, and did so with some wonderful efforts there, going through the left and the right. And don't count these drivers 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th out of this one for the race win. They're split by just 3.4 seconds at the moment, as Rob Harris is now finding himself in the pits. He's just pulled into his box, and they go for an 11th lap then of their 32. Just as I say that, massive wide goes for Kyle Stokes there at turn 1. He bowled a big wide there. He'll get another delivery for that one, and ultimately opens the gap back up again to these top 5.
Yeah, that mistake's really cost it, the rest of it, that top 10, and they're going to try to close that gap back down to that top 7, but the gap is not big, and all it's going to take is one small mistake from one of these guys at the front, and it's going to bring those drivers on it back into this lead fight, and it's anybody's guess as to what's going to happen in the pit stops as well. Is all it's going to take is a little bit extra fuel saving from those behind, and they will be straight into this top 5 battle.
They certainly will. Mogridge was really deep into that carousel, that outer loop, and that puts Thomas Hinds on the outside in the Sim Racing Channel HJR car. Can't quite get the run off the exit, searching again. At the final corner, there goes Hinds. He grabbed grass through the corner, and suddenly Josh Morris picks one up, and the group is now 6, and the first taker comes in, and it's Kokoschka.
Kokoschka could probably see the drama that was unfolding in front of him and said, "I'll have none of that, thank you." So decides to get out of that and pit early to try an undercut strategy, but it's side by side on the way up towards the S's nearly. And he's going to take that one straight back off Stokes, but this is not what he will have wanted at all. Getting very close to the guardrail as well at the top.
Very close to the guardrails. He's using all that he can. And there goes Dylan Rudd. There was only one bit of road he could go through, and he has got it done. Jamie McKnight over the radio isn't a happy chappy at this stage. He calls for race control going up the hill, as he's got a little bit of bumping and banging there, I think is the right way to say it, with Brett Loxton. That was the Ventra IP machine just getting a little bit into the back there. I think that's a bit tame from Jamie to call for that. But at least for the moment, you can see the top driver's still there together. Rosella going all shades of sideways, and everyone's been struggling with that this race.
Yeah, second victim of the grass just on the entry into the final corner. Rosella being claimed by that. Lucky not to have any sort of contact, but that's going to really hurt that rear tyre as well. So he's going to be struggling with traction for a few laps now, but he's going to at least continue on his way to try and keep up this top bunch, which he hasn't lost just yet. But side by side further back, Silbeck's going to be in the wall, nearly contact with himself. Stokes sideways and into the wall, heavy,
but somehow they've kept it all in a straight line. What great car control by Kyle Stokes. Christian Smart's going to be on the blower for that one, because they were really aggressive going through that section of track, and now there is heavy damage. You can see the scrapings on the side, the wheel arches exposed there of that JK Sign Synergy machine, and ultimately dramas side by side for second. By the way, here goes Josh Morris to the outside now, looking for the run, and he's got just an angle. No! Round goes, round they go. Heavy hit from Mogridge. He gets clattered into by Dylan Rudd as he tries to get things going again. That is a big hit, and into the pits comes the 9.5 machine. Might that just be the safety car?
Might that just be? We'll have to see what's going to happen.
Not going.
And he's got going as well, and we'll get a virtual racing school replay of that. Let's have a look and see what actually happened there. It was so close between the two of them, and it might have just looked like it was the ever so slight, little bit too much overlap, and as a result, something's come aggressive of that.
Well, you can see side by side, and there's the hit, and it's almost a case of just being run out of room on that outside from Josh Morris. He still had overlap, he had time, but bang! In goes the 9.5 car of Dylan Rudd, and it's that secondary hit that probably does more damage than any other hit that we saw there on the virtual racing school replay. Won't be too many dramas for those maybe a little bit further down in the field. They'll take that with a pinch of salt. Glenn Postlethwaite won't mind. He's now suddenly got 2.3 seconds in the back pocket to go and play with.
He's certainly got himself a very nice little buffer over everybody else at this point after all the drama that's unfolded in the last lap or so. So he'll be continuing on his way, and he'll just be in cruise control mode as well at this stage. You have a few lapped cars coming up on him very shortly, but what's going to happen between these lot is the next question, because of the fact that they're all so close. Morris is starting to pull away a little bit from Hinds, but Hinds is not going to give this one up at all, and Rosella is just looming in the background of them all.
Yep, certainly is. Second, third, and fourth at this point in time, and all hoping that they can all get something all nicely sorted and situated at this point. Into the pits comes Craig Jones then for the Drop Bear team. They're making the stop, and there is Postlethwaite. That's Mark Newton behind him, now a lap down here in this one. We've had a number of retirements: Steve Jenkins, Rob Harris, Sean McNamara, Simon Chadwick, and Todd Parks, just to name a few. Mogridge in the pits, damaged and out, as is Smart. And just keeping an eye out, I think Dylan Rudd has joined them as well in the retirement central at this stage. In comes Josh Morris, though, to make his stop. It's going to be joined by Vincent Skilbeck, who is still pending investigation.
You're still going to see what race control's decision is on that incident earlier on that he had on the way up through the S's. So there's a possible penalty looming over his head at the moment, but Matt Danson currently not doing too bad of a job. He's made up quite a few positions, currently sitting just inside the top 10 from 31st on the grid. So he's having a nice, clean race so far, and it's looking like he might be on for a pretty reasonable result if he keeps going the way he is.
Still needs to make his stop, but Danson all over the back now of Nitschke, and it's going to move to the inside, actually, to get the move done, as we looked at Thomas Hinds for a moment. So what can the Frog Leap car do in comparison? The answer is not very much at all. That is a very nice overtake by Matt Danson to move up another place. Matthew Brunt on the back of this group as well will be wanting to try and get through. But this is where you start struggling with the tyres. This is where things get very, very difficult to deal with, as race leader Glen Postlethwaite dives in. Everybody else, jump in. It's pit party time.
Yeah, everybody deciding now is the time to pit. Pretty much halfway through this race, as Loxton and Chastanoff decide to come down onto the lane as well to join the leaders, Nitschke as well. But we'll see how this is going to work for a few that have done the undercut, and we'll see how this is going to work possibly for those who decide to go a little bit longer.
Well, we will see indeed. There is Josh Morris at this moment in time, making his progress now through towards that final corner. An important run as well, trying to get it done. Postlethwaite, by comparison, leaves his box, leaves lane right now, was in the 6th to last box here in this one. And as he gets going, that's the difference. He's already up to speed. He's got a little bit of a gap. And Thomas Hinds has got the jump on Josh Morris, moves up into P2. And what's crucial is how much time Luke Rosella has lost in the pit. Josh Morris has got a penalty, and
He's just hit the wall on the top of the S's as well, and that car's going to be very, very second and not going very fast now on the way down the back straight, so he's done some serious damage.
I wonder if he's pulling it over right now, letting everybody go through. I just had a little look there. Someone's going to go straight on, and that is going to be Kokoschka. All shades of out of shape through the bus stop, and he has made sure that he's created a brand new line through there and dropped time, and will have the slowdown penalty as well to boot on top. Logan Barnett, by the way, as we look at Matt Danson for a moment here, is going for position here on Kyle Stokes. It's going to go down the inside as more takers come down onto the lane. There is the move, and it is nicely sorted there. Kyle Stokes losing one out then to the Frog Leap machine.
Barnett with a very, very nice move to get on by the Sim Racing machine, but whether Stokes is going to be able to come back at him, it's going to be a hard task with the fact that SSR machine is in a little bit of trouble with damage, but we'll have to see how he's going to go. He might end up losing a position to Kokoschka as well in the next few laps, but he'll certainly keep pushing on regardless.
Certainly will. So how is this going to fare as they make this rise once again? Wade Sheedy getting out of the way then of Logan Barnett, of Kyle Stokes, of Stephen Kokoschka as they charge. Still waiting for a few drivers to make those stops. Of course, Jamie McKnight, Matt Danson, Matthew Brunt, Michael Taliancic, to name a few here in this one who are thinking about those stops. Troy Maguire, I believe, has come in and made a stop and looked to get things going. But there is your race leader. No real signs yet here on lap 19 that a pit stop is imminent, but a pit stop, you would say, is necessary.
You have to come down onto the lane, especially with the fact that your tyres are going to be very, very second-hand, and the fact that you're probably not going to be able to make it on fuel as well. So when they're going to decide to come down onto the lane to get their pit stop out of the way is certainly going to be the big question. You have to think that it's going to be in at least the next lap or so, as Kokoschka is going to send it up the inside of his teammate Kyle Stokes, and Stokes is going to lose another position there.
Yeah, comfortable overtake between two teammates. Kokoschka getting it nicely sorted. Was one of the first come down and make that stop. So just keep that in mind as they go through. Nice little 3-car scrap there towards the rear of the field that we're focusing on right now. The number 7 machine of Jordan Gallagher is out there at the moment, racing very intently with Craig Jones and Christopher Ireland, who of course is on the recovery after the drive-through penalty. Up the rise they'll go through turn 3, easy to wash out through there, just like Craig Jones does, and that puts it right in the wheelhouse of Ireland, who wants to try and get through.
Yeah, Ireland's going to size him up, looks to the inside on the way down towards the bus stop. Is he going to be close enough? No move is going to be happening at that time, but very, very lucky that Jones didn't actually wash out even more than he already did on the way up to the S's, as it was looking like he could have found himself in the wall there as Brunton McKnight on the way down the lane as well.
Matt Danson as well, also in the lane. They'll be making that charge out of the pits then as they go through. That puts Michael Taliancic then in the race lead. Has gone incredibly long. In fact, he's gone so long, he's allowed Glenn Postlethwaite through. So Taliancic, hello. What's going on here then for Michael Taliancic? Has he just had an issue of some kind? He's stuck in 4th.
He slowed on the way down the back straight, which was very, very strange, and he's gone straight ahead on the way through the bus stop as well. So possibly an issue here of some kind. Maybe forgot to take.
Has he run out of fuel? I think he's run out of fuel.
It seems the most likely case, but you wouldn't think someone of his caliber would do that.
That's the wrong way. That is a retirement then for Michael Taliancic, who's decided that he is going to take the other track today. That is bizarre. Well, he says, can I have an escape? To just point this out, he's down at the chute at this moment in time, as we got a little look there. Danson getting it down the inside, trying to get it all sorted then with the 94 car then to make that move. And ultimately, that is going to work a treat then for that one. So still some racing to be had. Postlethwaite leads, Hinds in 2nd, Rosella in 3rd at the moment, and that is Wade Sheedy they both get by. Jacob Knight there fighting with Matt Danson. Danson's up 20.
He's up quite a few spots, but he is still yet to make... he has actually made a spit stop, sorry, I should say. So he's actually in a pretty good position at the moment for the fact that he's made his way through the field as quickly as he has. And there is still time as well to make some more moves if he can catch up to the likes of McKnight and Chesnov, who are not too far up the road and possibly going to be in a little bit of a scrap in the next few laps or so.
Yeah, we just saw the move as someone else is there slow on the infield there, getting it not too nicely sorted as we continue to see that battle. That's the 040 machine of Todd Parks, 2 laps down here in this race, so getting out of the way as lapped traffic. But there's some great battles going on. This for the top 10. Jamie McKnight right now wants to get through on the EMU machine of James Chastanerf. They started 23rd and 29th respectively, and top 10s could be in the offing in the not too distant future.
Yeah, certainly in the not too distant future it might be happening, but these two fighting very, very hard. McKnight's trying to size up Chastanoff on the way up the S's and looking like he might have a little bit of a run here, but it's looking like he's actually lost a little bit of time on the way up to the top of the S's, so not going to be a move made at the bus stop at least, but he is closing reasonably quickly on Chastanoff, so there is a bit of pace in that United Sim Sports machine of McKnight at the moment. He's very, very aggressive over the curbs.
Aggressive over the curbs, takes that big wide berth into the carousel, but again, Chastanerf's got the measure and got the number. That's worked pretty much a treat at this point in time. Vincent Skilbeck, by the way, keep an eye on this for the podium all over the back now of Luke Rossello as we just jump on forward and get an eye on this. This is going to be really important to try and see how this is going to stack up between these two. Of course, Rosella had the early lead, and of course, Skilbeck, I think, is okay. He's not going to get a penalty for what happened earlier on, and now he makes this charge up through the right and left, and then the right of 2, 3, and 4. He's just got to stay in range here and pounce at the right time. They know they're not going to catch the leading two, who are 1.7 seconds separating. Now, it's all about focus here, the best of the rest.
Yeah, it's all about who can get that final spot on the podium between these two. There's no point fighting too hard at this stage. At least you want to try and look after your tyres and have something for the end, but we'll see what's going to happen between these two. Skilbeck, much better run through the carousel on the exit of the carousel, and is looking like he might be able to make a move at turn 1 here if he can get a nice run through the final 2 corners, hard on the brakes into the final second to last corner. And Rosella actually a little bit better, so it's certainly a game of wits and who's stronger where between these two at the moment.
Yes, it certainly is a case of checks and balances. Who might be better in one part of the circuit, who might in another. There is Brett Loxton on the back of Kokoschka, trying to get the move done in towards turn number 1. Big lunge down the inside. Kokoschka gives him all the room in the world. Gets a big boatload of oversteer on the exit as well as they go on through. And we talk about this so often here, how these machines are the most difficult on iRacing to go and drive by the fact that you deal with bucket loads of understeer. And the moment you hit the limit, you get bucket loads of oversteer.
Yeah, certainly. You get to both ends of the spectrum very, very quickly. Around the outside is McKnight and Chastanov going on by the slower machine of Kyle Stokes, who decides to just get out of the way, Kirsten Smart, sorry, and just not hold them up too much.
No, you're right. That was Kyle Stokes. It was for position as well. So that march, then we can say, is Kyle Stokes has got damage. Brunt and Nitschke fighting for 13th. And now McKnight as well is going to be looking for the move as well on top of this one. So there goes McKnight down the inside at 6. And that is a wonderfully constructed overtake then to get that all nicely wrapped up with a nice, neat bow. McKnight having an absolute tear through this race right now.
Yeah, he certainly is. And Chestnut might come under attack here from Stokes this time into the bus stop. No move going to be happening on the way into turn 1, but he's very, very close as Stokes all over the back bumper of Chestnut.
It's now going to be a charge up the hill. Christian Smart, not the nicest place in the world to leave it. Going through, that's going to check up Chastaner for a little bit. And suddenly Kyle Stokes has the chance to pounce on the Emu machine. 888 looking to try and get the move done. Ultimately, there is no space at the bus stop to make that one happen just yet. But we're 25 of 32 through. Surprisingly, with all the incidents that we've had today, without caution here around this place. But through the long right, there'll be more opportunities on the horizon.
Yeah, certainly will be more opportunities on the horizon, and still plenty of racing to go with 8 laps left in this race. So anybody's guess as to when that move is going to be end up made and who is going to end up coming out on top in that little battle. But Stokes is certainly struggling with that damage on his car at the moment. Just can't have, well, doesn't have any straight line speed, just can't keep up with the guys ahead.
No, he doesn't, and soon Matt Danson might be there in the late stages. It's the front left, which is the trouble, and all of the washing on that front left is going to do not much. But there is the gap comparisons over the last 3 laps for Thomas Hind. He lost a 10th or 2 there on lap 24, gained it all back on lap 25. It tells you what you need to know, that Postlethwaite and Hind are very evenly spread at this moment, very even keel. They came into the pits at the same time, and it's going to be down to, is there a mistake or not for Glen Postlethwaite? Because Thomas Hind, I don't see him reeling this in within 7 laps, or which will be 6 when they cross the line.
Yeah, I can't see that gap decreasing at enough of a rate to allow Hinsey to have a go at possibly trying to get this race win off Postlethwaite. So if Postlethwaite can just keep on being smooth and doing what he's been doing for the past half a dozen laps, he'll be in a right spot and be finding his way on into split 1. What's happening between the battle for P3 though? Skilbeck's still patiently waiting at the moment. He doesn't have huge pace over Rosella, but he does have a slight advantage, and he does have that draft as well, which he can use should he make a mistake.
Yeah, going up through the left then of 3 in towards 4. Rosella absolutely ragging on his Synergy machine right now, getting right up close and personal with the wall at turn 3, and now on the brakes into the bus stop once again. You can see how Skilbeck is able to close nicely through the first part, but he doesn't gather it back up at the second part. Meanwhile, still trying to fight this one is going to be one James Chastaner. He's not given up hopes here of an 8th place finish.
Yeah, he certainly isn't giving up at all, and he's certainly applying the pressure in bucket loads to Jamie McKnight, who is just not budging at all and is just continuing to run some very, very nice lap times and continuing to hold off Chastity at the moment, who's continuing to try his best to keep on the rear bumper of McKnight, but just can't quite seem to have enough in the tank to get there.
Yeah, and Brett Loxton looking down the inside then of Logan Barnett for 5th place. And again, it's a turn 1 special for the Ventra IP machine, and it gets the move wonderfully sorted up there. Barnett back to 6th. Loxton, what a recovery to get back into the top 5.
He's done very, very well to make up those positions after losing them early on, and has had an all right race as well with the fact that he started P10, so he's going at least positive in the gain department of positions gained, but still Barnett's not letting off too much, so Loxton's got a little bit of work to do to get away from him if he wants to hold on to this P5.
Absolutely, and Top Tensville has come along for Matt Dance, and he's got the move done on Kyle Stokes in the background. We didn't quite catch that on camera, but you can see there right in the back of shot there, the Altascar is ahead, but Loxton, a lot of work to be done as we got these battles that are forming at this point in time. Meanwhile, what a lap Thomas Hinds has had in comparison to Glenn Postlethwaite. Postlethwaite, a struggling lap of a 109.3, 4/10 just whittled away now with 4 laps to go. More laps like that, and Hinsey is going to get there. He wants to be within a second.
And once he's within a second, he will start to get some very minor effects of draft as well. So he'll want to keep on pushing as hard as he has been in that last lap or so. And if he can keep taking out those sort of chunks, he's actually going to be right there and ready to pounce for when possibly makes a mistake or when the move is ready to be made.
It is within a second now here for Thomas Hinds. He's done a wonderful job to close down the gap to Glenn Postlethwaite, who hasn't been driving necessarily badly there at the front of the field. It has been that sort of race where you've just got to stay calm with it. Thomas Hinds absolutely throwing it into every corner he possibly can and trying to get as much drive off of these exits. It's under a second now here with 3 laps to go, and 1 golden ticket splits these two 10 seconds clear of the rest of anyone.
Yeah, absolutely right. And still, this battle is going to go right down to the wire. 3 to go. Anybody's guess as to who is going to come out on top. It's in favour of Postlethwaite at the moment, but Hinsey is hunting, and he is hunting hard. He is not going to give in whatsoever, and he's going to fight this right down to the very final corner if he has to.
He absolutely will. Thomas Hinds throwing it into the bus stop chicane with a handful of laps to go as they try and figure out who is going to be top dog here in this one. You can see that gap. It's about 7-8 tenths of a second. He needed that to be down to about 6 if he felt comfortable with a more linear style of closing down that gap. But he uses the draft now on this second straight, gets it down under 7 tenths of a second, goes through the left, and now he's got to just stay calm. Final few corners before now the penultimate lap of this race. Popsicle sticks in the air, and this is the first sign of anything. Postlethwaite was half thinking about trying to shake some toe.
Yeah, Postlethwaite's trying to make sure that Hinsey can't get a move done and can't get the maximum amount of draft that he possibly can, and it's going to be very, very difficult for him to try and break the draft, but he's going to do everything in his power as Postlethwaite to try and make sure that Hinsey does not steal this one away from him. It's under half a second now on the way down towards the bus stop, and Hinsey is right there and ready to pounce.
Absolutely is. He's got to get into range. He knows he's only going to get one opportunity. Bit of grass there for Glenn Postlethwaite as he threw it over the curb. That unsettled him on the run in towards the outer loop. And all of a sudden, Thomas Hinds can claw back another few hundredths of a second then in that moment. And that gap has been visibly closing as we've been keeping an eye on it. The 25 and the 95 as they try and figure out what they've got. Wade Sheedy will be in front of them. I'm not sure it'll be enough to make anything happen in terms of this final battle. Let's get a white flag in the air, though. We've got one more lap here at Watkins Glen, the golden ticket spot. The transfer to the main event of SCOPS here at Watkins Glen is very firmly in mind. It's half a second. It was a great lap that time from Postlethwaite, a 109.1. And again, Thomas Hinds taking too much out of turn 1, and that prime place to get it done is again shut completely down. Not going to get there. And crucially as well, they're going to close in on Wade Sheedy, and Postlethwaite's going to grab a little bit of toe here as they go on through and make sure he's got a bit of a gap. Can't afford a mistake, though, at this section. Nice and neat as they go through. Late into the pits, then, is Kokoschka. He was short on fuel. He needed a splash. He needed a dash to go and get himself there. But now, just 2 corners remain for Glen Postlethwaite, who at the right time has done everything correctly. Cool head prevails. Thomas Hinds overdriving the car, trying to chase him down late. But opportunity knocks. Hindsy's gone wide at turn number 6, and that writes it off in the books. Glen Postlethwaite, welcome to the main event. That is a very, very accomplished victory.
Yeah, very, very commanding drive, even in the face of pressure when it was very, very high and nearly had Hinsey there, but just wasn't to be in the end. Rosella is going to round out the podium. Skelbeck is going to come home in at P4. McKnight is going to win the battle between himself and Chastanov, and Danson was not far behind at all between these two as well over the line, but further back it's still going on. Everybody's sorting themselves out, but it's looking like there's going to be no change for position as that is a car out of fuel, unfortunately.
It's Troy Maguire, but they're not going to get there in time. Robert Crisdale there in the JP Simshed car couldn't quite get there in the end, but watch out for that then in the race, because they were very much running on fumes. Glen Postlethwaite 6th to 1st though, and a nice drift through the cones to make sure that the happiness is there. He'll have the longest night of anybody when it comes to sim racing action here today. Confirmation result then, Glen Postlethwaite, 37 minutes, 34 seconds, a cautionless fest, which could have had a few twists and turns in, wins by 6.4 over Thomas Hinds, who ran out of fuel with 2 corners to go, giving everything he possibly could. Luke Rosella will take 3rd ahead of Vincent Skilbeck in 4th, with Brett Loxton rounding out the top 5 on a recovery run. Logan Barnett there for the Frog Elite team gets 6th place, with the 2 biggest movers and shakers up a astonishing 28 positions respectively. James McKnight then in 7th position. Splitting those 2 drivers is James Chastanoff, and Matt Danson also up 28 places to finish off in P9. Kyle Stokes had damage to deal with throughout that second stint. He rounds out the top 10.
Go over the page, you have Jacob Knight coming home in 11th with Matthew Brunt in 12th. Nishka in 13th with Maguire and Crisdale to round out the top 15. Michael Schroeder comes home in 16th with Hayden Harrison coming home in 17th. 18th to Christopher Ireland after that penalty early on, and then Rick Sieber and Andrew Ritchie round out the top 20.
We move on down then to 21st, where we see the drop bear machine of Craig Jones. Jordan Gallagher having a nice run out there in the ANZ machine there, 22nd overall for the number 7, with Stephen Kokoschka there 23rd, having to make a splash and dash to make sure he made it. And now he hit those drivers a lap down or in retirements here. Wade Sheedy 2 laps down, Christian Smart 5 laps down, along with the 9.5 cars of Chadwick and McNamara. It's not been a good day for 9.5, and they'll have to go back to the drawing board then for next time out in about 3 weeks at Alton Park. Michael Taliancic then dramatically running out of fuel on his first stop as he tried to go as long as he possibly dared, with Todd Parks and Josh Morris also hitting the retirements, and then the final 5 over the page. Then as we go, issues for Mark Newton, for Dylan Rudd, for Andrew Mogridge, of course, dramatically, Rob Harris and Steve Jenkins as well in the forward for Taipan in a world of hurt. But at least for the time being, that is Super Split 2. But you will want to stay with us, ladies and gentlemen, because we are moving very swiftly on towards that main event. Important battles on the horizon. The championship heating up ever more between Altus and, of course, Trans-Tasman. And we will be seeing you in just a little bit. Stay with us here at SimSpeed. More coming up.
Are you new to sim racing, or maybe a veteran struggling to reach the next level? Have you ever wondered how the aliens reach impressive lap times that seem impossible to achieve? If so, you're not alone. Most drivers reach a certain level and get stuck. But getting faster on track is easier than you think. V8S coaches are some of the best sim racers in the world and offer one-on-one driver skills training at affordable rates to help new drivers learn the basics and help experienced drivers break through to the next level. Are you ready to get faster and get off the iRacing roller coaster? If so, V8S one-on-one personal training is for you. If you've invested in your equipment, it might be time to invest in yourself. Just go to virtualracingschool.com and sign up for a 30, 60 or 90-minute session with one of our world-class coaches, and you'll learn exactly what to do for faster lap times and more podiums.
Yeah, so we're using the V8S Direct Force Pro this year. We have a wheel adapter right here, so I'm using the rim I used last year, but the motor right here produces a lot of power, a lot of precision, and it helps me, just feel the car more, feel the car a lot quicker, especially, this week we're at Sonoma. I can feel it, when it hits the curbs, any little change in the car, the wheel reacts a lot quicker than your typical gear-driven or belt-driven wheel. For example, if you're on oval and the rear tires break loose, force feedback on it corrects a lot quicker than your typical wheels. There's no resistance pretty much as far as being able to make quick corrections on the wheel. So all that, paired with how precise the wheel itself is, it makes it to where it helps you as a driver, to find that extra hundredth or thousandths of a second. So when you're getting a direct drive wheel, especially the V8S wheel, it's heavy duty. It's got good weight to it, it's not a plastic toy. It feels like you can really beat up on it. A lot of people have issues with their plastic gear-driven wheels just kind of breaking after a couple years. This thing just feels like it can go forever. The forces are really strong where if you might have to let go of the wheel if you get into the wall. You can adjust all that with the settings on it and stuff, but the wheel itself doesn't play around. It's got way more strength than you could ever need, and that's what makes it good, that you can adjust that down to whatever the car needs. So initially you'll be able to get the controller box and the motor together, and eventually you will be able to add a rim onto that option. They'll also be including a button plate on it to put on the rim to have all sorts of different buttons and functionality. Also, pedals are coming, so that's a pretty big deal as well. Hasn't been covered too much, but the goal is to also have pedals to go along with the Direct Force Pro. So that's pretty exciting. The wheel feels good. It feels very much like a real world steering wheel. You just kind of feel like what you would imagine the car to feel like. A real steering wheel in a car is very smooth, it's very direct, very quick, and that's what this wheel feels like.
Hey everyone, the USF 2000 is a blast to drive now, and here's your chance to learn it quickly. From my tutorial, V8S created a free bonus track guide for the Laguna Seca circuit, where you can learn exactly what I do in every corner to improve your lap times and get faster on track. You'll learn how to easily recognize brake markers, you'll find out which curbs to attack and which ones to avoid, you'll know when to use the full track and when a sequence of corners requires a compromise, and you'll learn how hard to brake and when to lift. The V8S quick reference track maps are available free to download and delivered each week to your inbox. The entire global MX-5 series is available, as well as bonus maps like this one and many more. So if you're a new racer, or a veteran, or just anyone who wants to learn how to get faster sooner, the V8S track guides are for you. Just hit the link or button on screen and get yours today.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's got everything outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up top.
Oh my God. Oh, big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no. That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to SCOPS 2021 here at Watkins, Glen, Virtual Racing School, Too Easy Finance, and something very, very important as we make our looks towards a very tough race ahead of us here of 250 Ks. I'm Jake Sperry, Cameron Dance along with me for the ride. First and foremost here, Cam, let's dissect what happened just a few moments ago with Super Split 2, a wonderfully concocted race from Glen Postlethwaite, who, when everyone was trying to be aggressive and stay in the pack, he had his one moment. Then Morris and Mogric had their big bust up. They're not too happy about it, and they've pointed fingers at each other over the incident. But ultimately, that's what gave the gap, and that's what gave Glen Postlethwaite just enough to pick up victory.
Yeah, absolutely. That's all he needed to do. He just weaved his way through the field and all the mess that went on and pretty much just did what he needed to do, which is keep the car clean, put in some consistent laps, and away he went pretty much.
Away he went, and he did very well. A lot of drivers there. The fact that there were no cautions here on that Super Split 2 race somehow, they managed to really struggle when it came to the stops on fuel. Now, there's not going to be as much of that struggle here in the main event, so to speak, but struggles on fuel is not too uncommon for this circuit.
Yeah, it certainly is, and especially with the fact that it's such a fuel-saving and draft heavy track as well, so everybody's usually trying to save that extra little bit just to go that little bit further or have that little bit less to put in the car at the pit stop to make them that little bit further up the road. So it's really going to be all about making sure you can time the stop to perfection, and then also making sure you can hit your marks and also put the right amount of fuel in so that you're not going to be at a disadvantage later on.
And that disadvantage we have seen a little bit out there from a couple drivers who couldn't quite get their stop all shades of correct. But correct is one thing. We're moving ourselves on down to this track. And, well, there's a reason why you're seeing a Boost Mobile machine out there on circuit, because that is Richie Stanaway behind the wheel for the Boost Mobile Racing team as he looks to try and get as much as possible out of tonight as he can. Becomes only the 5th current, or I would say alumni of supercars to be out there and racing. He joins an elite list, of course, of Anton De Pasquale, of Brody Kostecki, who's a race winner in this series, of Scott McLaughlin, and joins Shane Van Gisbergen on top of that as well. So Richie Stanaway out there racing, looking to try and see what is available here at Watkins Glen.
Yeah, Richie, very, very well known in the iRacing community for the fact that he has done World Championship stuff in the past and has done the occasional V8 race here and there, but he has taken a hiatus quite some time ago, and he's back and ready to show the boys and girls out there what he can really do. So it'll be interesting to see how Stanaway is going to go tonight and where he's going to end up. But the big talking point, I think, is the championship and these people on screen, the Altus Esports crew, who have taken the charge to Trans-Tasman Racing, who have been the dominant force in recent time, but someone has finally stepped up to the plate.
They certainly have, and it's been showing over the last couple of races that they have been the team up on top, have Altus, and it's just more drive for Trans-Tasman to go through. This is how the championship standings look at the moment. No drop rounds of the 3 added in just yet, but Richard Hamstead 35 points clear of Madison Down at the moment, and a big gap on back Brady Myers to Jake Maloney to Josh Anderson. But keep in mind, James Scott and Jordan Caruso, those two have been the real chargers up through the order in terms of picking up good, solid results. And on top of that, maybe Cooper Webster as well, who's not on the top 10 graphic, could be in line for getting some really nice results coming up through. Worth keeping in mind, though, Cam, that there are a lot of drivers in that top 10 who are there on consistency values. Andrew Dyson and Adam Briggs, there have both been incredibly consistent at finishing in and around the top 15.
Yeah, and that's one thing that we're going to start to see who's going to be up the top 10 side of the championship as the season goes on, with the fact that it's such a long championship as well. And we've seen all the drama that can unfold between now and the end of the season every single year. It's anybody's guess as to what that top 10 is going to look like come the end of the championship and who's going to end up being at that top step.
Who's going to find as much pace as possible, and this is probably one of the more unpredictable circuits that we find on the calendar. Unpredictable because we have seen here, there and everywhere just how quickly it can turn south at Watkins Glen. It's got that street circuit vibe to it from a road course, and this is one that very much keeps in play as we look at the 208 machine there ever so briefly going through, and there is the 201 of course then of Andrew Gilliam. Now here's a driver that you'd expect to be inside the top 10, that you'd expect to be challenging for these big results, and someone who I think has fallen under the weight of expectations this season.
Yeah, he hasn't really risen to the occasion as of yet so far. He's been a little bit of a quiet achiever, more or less in a position that you wouldn't really expect him to be in, especially with the fact that he's had podiums and race wins in previous years. So it'll be interesting to see what's going to happen tonight, whether he can get the monkey off the back and start to get some really, really good results under his belt.
If there's any track to go and make something happen, it is this one that you normally tend to find. This is the sort of circuit that often puts drivers up into a position that they wouldn't normally get to. It's technical in the sense that it's not very technical, Cam. It's a case of most of the corners are 90 degrees or flowing corners. It's very easy to keep up a high top speed. So we look at the number one, the reigning champion, Madison Down on screen from Trans-Tasman, effectively has been in race recovery mode for about the last 3 races of this championship, or the last 3 race meetings, and would really like to get back up to the top and get some nice consistent victory in the back of the pocket.
Yeah, he certainly would like to be back on that top step and back in the position that he likes to be in, which is, of course, that top spot of first place. So hopefully he'll be able to get to that position and come away with a race victory tonight. He has been known to go very, very well around here, but he has had the occasional up and down race where he's possibly found a certain guardrail on the odd occasion as well. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, but he's certainly one of the favourites to win tonight, that's for sure.
Certainly will be. So we'll keep that in mind as they go through. And there are some of the older drivers out there on circuit. We do need to talk qualifying format before we do move over. We've got 9 minutes, 30 seconds before we'll be jumping over in towards the work that we are doing here today with qualifying. It's 35 minutes in terms of qualifying, and it is the staggered split qualifying that we are in with full force today, meaning the drivers who qualified in pre-qual 40th to 21st, which includes Andrew Dyson and the Super Split 2 winner, by the way, because Dyson qualified 41st, Brian Borg out with a blown PC, and then, of course, Super Split 2 winner Glenn Postlethwaite getting his place in. They will get their chances to do their qualifyings first. They'll have 15 minutes to work out what they've got, as Tixier, I believe, there gets a whole boatload of sideways going through the opening corner. New team as well there for Seb Tixier in the 070, running around then with the Premier Racing team then for this one. But then, of course, Cam, the top 20 who pre-qualified get their chance to go in. And this is going to be key as well, because track conditions do change here in iRacing, and we don't know whether it's going to be a benefit or maybe a little bit of a hindrance for drivers who didn't quite qualify it where they needed to.
Yeah, we'll have to watch the track temp and what the weather's going to do in general to see who's going to end up being the beneficiary and who's going to be the losers in the qualifying session, with the fact that it's quite warm at the moment. Track temp is 44 degrees, so it's going to be very, very slippery out there. But as the session goes on and as qualifying goes on, whether it's going to drop or rise is the big question. If it rises, you might find this grid is very, very shaken up, and it'll cause a little bit of drama for a few of these drivers. But if it does start to drop, then it might be a bit better to be out later on. So it's going to be very, very fascinating to see what's going to happen, and we could very well shake this grid up.
Keep an eye on that number 8 in the virtual racing score machine. That is Jake Burton. Here is someone who got his first ever win in SCOPS around this fabled place, beating out Jared Filsell on what was a very, very important battle. Of course, Filsell currently 4th here in practice as things stand. So ultimately for Burton, he knows what he needs to do to win this one. He might be there. And actually, car number 41 qualified pre-qual in 41st position, got his lucky advancement up to the top. Andrew Dyson would really love to make something of this right now as he looks to try and get things going in the simrigs.com DPR machine.
Yeah, I'd certainly like to have a bit better result than being 41st in the order for qualifying and in the race. He's had some very, very good pace in the past, has Dyson, so I imagine he'll be able to come away with a reasonable result if he can keep himself out of trouble. But it is Watkins Glen after all. It is very unpredictable, and trouble is around every corner almost.
It absolutely is around every corner. I think every corner's had a safety car at some point, especially in 2019 and 2018 as well on top of that. But it's also worth keeping in mind when it comes to qualifying as well, Cam, that track position is king around this one, and track position can also be queen on top of that. So when you get yourself out on circuit, the last place you want to be going out there setting a lap time is going to be on the front, because you're not going to have any tow to benefit. And I would say the tow around this place could gain you anything up to 3/4 tenths of a second on any given lap.
Yeah, absolutely. You're not going to be not going to want to be the one at the front of the field. You're going to be wanting to be around that sort of third car back. You don't want to be all the way at the back and ending up with traffic issues, but you want to be in that position where you've got a few cars ahead of you and then you've also got a few behind you. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see what tactics there's going to be, who's going to be working together. Obviously, teams are going to be working together as best as they possibly can. You'll probably find all the Trans-Tasman cars, all the Altus cars, all the Pursuit cars, all working together in some form to try and assist each other, using a bit of drafting buddy going on. But it's really going to be important to make sure you're in a good position. You're not being held up. You're not being too lack of draft. You're just making sure that you're going to have enough to get a reasonable lap time down on the board.
There is Ethan Grigolton, the 117 Evolution Racing Team outfit, has had a lot of real-world commitment to deal with over the course of this season. It's due to the fact that all of that has been struggling a little bit, so to speak, in Australia, that this has been an opportunity for Ethan Grigolt to get a little bit of time behind the wheel and try and get some laps in under the belt. Doesn't necessarily have the greatest team around him that he has done, but V8SCOPS race start number 95 for Ethan Grigolt as he looks to try and sort everything out here today. What will be key for him, though, is just to get to a finish, I think, for Ethan Grigolt. No championship aspirations, and I think a top 10 would do him very well over the course of this one.
Yeah, it certainly would. A very, very experienced player in this game and has been around the scene for quite some time. And obviously, like you said, the team of Evolution Racing Team not really being a very, very strong presence in the V8SCOPS scene very, very recently with what's been going on in their real life department. But very, very strong driver nevertheless is Ethan Grigolt, and he'll certainly be on to try and get a good result out of this one.
Your top 5 currently in practice is actually just at the top goes Joshua Anderson in the number 36. So very nice bit of work there. Cooper Webster in second. It's Jordan Caruso third. Ethan Warren is fourth. And then the reigning champ Madison Down in P number 5 out there in practice as things stand. So it's at this point of the season, round 7, that you start looking at what's coming up. Of course, July is going to be a little bit more different going up forward. We've got back-to-back races coming up from what is a calendar change as Brady Myers makes SCOPS start number 82. It's got 2 seconds, it's got 4 thirds, still waiting for that inaugural race victory. Worth noting, he was the fastest in pre-qual, so keep that in mind. But we do have a few scheduled changes coming up into play. Of course, Alton Park stays where it is on the 18th of July, but it will be back-to-back weeks, Cam, as the last race before Enduros, Belle Isle, gets bumped up a week.
Yeah, it's certainly due to real-life commitments and changes on the calendar with the likes of supercars and that. We've had to shuffle the calendar around, and it's going to make it very, very interesting to see how the teams and drivers are going to cope with that back-to-back round, especially with the fact that it's two completely different sorts of racetracks. You've got one that's a little bit of a, I guess, go-kart track in some respects with the fact it's tight and narrow and twisty, but then we head to Belle Isle, which is a completely different kettle of fish, in that it's a street circuit with concrete on either side, no runoff whatsoever, so a small mistake is going to cost you dearly.
Small mistake very much will, but also you would say as well, with 2 minutes remaining in practice, that these races become ever so much more important, Cam, especially when you're talking driver pairings and some of the teams who maybe don't have their driver pairings all sorted out just yet. This would be the perfect time on the horizon to work out who's got pace now and who's going to be teaming up with who.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's going to be very, very important for a lot of these teams come Enduro Cup time to make sure they've got the right pairings so they can challenge for that Enduro Cup and also go for that elusive crown of the Bathurst 1000. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see who's going to pair who up with and who's going to end up being in what cars as well.
Yeah, that Bathurst 1000, of course, the SCOPS Bathurst 1000 on the 19th of September, looks to be one that I certainly cannot wait to see. Race start 48 for Cooper Webster in the number 37 outfit. Has been finding victories upon victories so far this season and has just been going from strength to strength, and might just be one of the next drivers that you look out for, doing very well open wheel wise in the real world. 3 race wins to his name, all of which coming this season, and this could be a real chance to throw something in around this one here today. A lot of drivers hoping they can get themselves some good runs. We also need to point out a career best pre-qual for Kurt Stenberg in the number 47 machine, 109.017 he's on at the moment out there in practice. But you'd say, Cam, that this is a place where experience does come into play, and there is hardly any driver more experienced in SCOPS than Kurt Stenberg.
Yeah, certainly one of the elder statesmen of the series is Stenny, and he's had a very, very good run over the years. A few ups and downs here and there, but usually he's consistent and usually finds himself in a very, very good position up the pointy end of the field with his Trans-Tasman Racing teammates every now and then. So it'll be interesting to see how he's going to go tonight. Obviously pre-qualified third in the order, not too far off Jordan Ross and Brady Myers. So it's going to be very, very fascinating to see what he's going to do and what he's going to come away with tonight.
Checker flag is out then in practice. We are going to move over to qualifying, ladies and gentlemen. 35 minutes to figure out who is going to be up on the very, very pointy end of this field. Here, as you can see, just this vast plain here at Watkins Glen. One of the few tracks that you could say has absolutely everything in it at this stage. Drivers then looking to get themselves out on circuit as quickly as they can. Corey Preston is going to be the first driver out there, looking to try and get some semblance of lap time out there on the board first, and everyone is going to be trying to grab a toe from someone else as they go on through. A lot of drivers up and down the order looking to try and hope that they have got what it takes. You've got Dyson there. Postlethwaite, of course, is in there. Sean Kelly making a start then here in this one, and crucially, I think it's going to be a battle between a couple of drivers up at the top. I think that this qualifying, as they all stack up and try and gain their positions here, Cam, is going to be, at least in the first stages, Richie Stanaway versus Emily Jones.
Yeah, certainly going to be a few drivers out there who it's going to be up against, and very, very close between them as well, as they're all continuing to stack up and try and find their own little bit of clean air in some form or another, and everybody's sort of struggling to do that at the moment. Corey Preston hasn't quite started his lap yet, so he might be okay with getting around to get a banker lap in, but it's all going on further back as everybody's stacking up, trying to get a draft, trying to set themselves up for a good start to the lap.
let's go on board then with Richie Stanaway and see what a lap around this place is going to be like as he gets up through the gears over at 235 kilometers an hour over the start-finish line. It's downhill into the 90 as you hit your braking point. Very easy to run straight on. You can run over the white lines at this section, but you've got to be back in line before the grass. Now the Essen section comes along 2, and then this long sweeper of 3 where it's so easy to understeer into Madison's wall on the right-hand side, and then to turn 4, which is the big setup. This is where the draft comes into play on the run to the bus stop, which is classified as turn number 5 out on track. The big right, left, and then the right, which sets up this long sweeping right-hand bend of the carousel. And now you try and work this outer loop and try and get the power down as early as possible. The next left and right will come up into view, and they are 2 90-degree corners, which could very much come into play. Big mistake from the car in front there. That's the Trans-Tasman machine of Sean Kelly sliding about, which would have been a little bit of a distraction for Richie Stanaway as he goes through the final corner. Very easy to make contact going into the pits there. And of course, you've got not much runoff area to deal with. That's a lap around this place. That's a 108.9 on the books then, and it goes top by 4/10 at this point in time.
Yeah, but he's pipped by 7 thousandths of a second by Jake Maloney. So Maloney, the quickest driver so far at the moment with a 1 minute 8.971. So it's very, very close at the top of the timesheets at the moment. Blackburn is going to come across the line to set a representative lap time. 1 minute 9.654 puts himself in the order. Not a great lap time, but still at least a banker on the board.
Yep, a banker on the board, looking to try and sort everything out. Then Damien Johnstone getting all sorts of squirrely going through there. Turn number 5 out on track, and hoping that the Synergy Sim Racing team can find a whole host of pace at this stage, moving through then towards these penultimate corners and a dive into the pits. Now, this is important, seeing all these drivers go into the pits. They can't do the traditional iRacing thing here, Cam, which is take an escape, tow your car back to pits, and give yourself another chance to go out again. And a no escape rule, which is I would say a local rule enforced by the stewarding team here, says that you cannot escape and go into the pits like that. You have to go and manually drive it in, otherwise you forfeit all of your qualifying. And because the track is 44 degrees, expect 1 lap, 1 attempt, and if it's not quicker, they'll dive down in, get tyres, and go again.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very, very hot track at the moment, so tyres are going to be absolutely melting away after a single flying lap. So it is going to be all about putting new tyres on, going again, putting new tyres on, going again, pretty much. So it'll be interesting to see what's going to happen, but everybody's completely shuffled in terms of the order at the moment, in terms of who's out there and who's come out of pit lane. Damon Mulqueen currently the only driver who didn't come down onto the lane that time by, which was a little bit fascinating. He hasn't set a representative lap time just yet, but he's pit sitting 17th in the order, coming through the carousel using a nice tight line, not trying to hug the inside too much and wash on out, but it's looking like it's going to be not too bad of a lap time if he can keep this sort of pace up.
Yeah, so getting something down on the books at least early is going to be ideal for Damon Mulqueen, making his way through turn number 6, looking towards turn 7, final corner out on circuit, very narrow line. That indicates I'm heading down to the pit lane, and to the pits goes the number 42 machine out there on track. So ultimately, that is just a stop. I can confirm we will be able to talk with our Super Split 2 winner, Glen Postlethwaite, after his laps are done complete, as we look at the McLaren Shadow machine of Emily Jones, the technical partnership with Trans-Tasman Racing, of course, for Emily, as she looks to try and make that charge. She's also streaming on Twitch right now at twitch.tv/Emery, so make sure you give her a little bit of love as she goes in towards the 90, turn number 1. And this is another thing with this style of qualifying, when there are so many cars drafting about, one car makes a mistake, whole train's caught out.
Yeah, indeed, and because they're all compacted together, it's even worse as well. So you really got to make sure that the car, well, you've got to be hoping that the car in front doesn't make a mistake, and then you've got to be making sure you don't make a mistake as well, so that you don't look like the bad guy. So it's going to be all about being smooth and making sure you can get this lap underway. Very aggressive over the inside curve, and possibly an off track, but we'll see what's going to happen when Emily crosses the line coming through the carousels, and a nice draft from Rick Kutenzov in this lap so far. But what the lap time's going to be like, that's the big question, is coming through the final 2 corners. And Rick getting a little bit sideways out of the second to last corner, but it's looking like it's been an okay lap for Emily, and she's going to come out of the final corner, continue to have a draft, going to come across the line, and the lap time is going to end up being a slight improvement with a 1 minute 9.019. Doesn't move from P3 though.
I had a very, very interesting look at that final corner, and Jake Maloney was on a lap, and Richie Stanaway took the natural line into the pit, and ultimately that cost Jake Maloney his lap to the extent he went around Richie Stanaway into the pits to give a message of, that was my lap, buddy. Oh, that really sucked. But Sean Linsell, Alco holder DRP, seems to be a typo there, but it looks like for Sean Linsell, he'll be really looking to try and charge forward, get exactly what he wants out of this one. His teammate for Alco holder DPR, Kenneth Latta, Kenny's up there in P7 at the moment, which is a really good qualifying effort from the 269 at this moment in time. So it looks like there is going to be some good efforts in play. Also there, of course, Briggs and Dyson, both their 13th and 15th at this stage. So a real interesting one for the 4 DPR cars at this point in time, who are maybe a little bit mixed muddled up from what we normally traditionally see.
They're certainly a little bit mixed and muddled up at the moment. They're currently sitting 13th and 15th in the order, which isn't great, but not too bad at the moment. If they can go a little bit quicker, they might be able to shoot themselves into a mid-pack position. The track has gone up in temp as well by 2 degrees. It's 46 degrees now, so it's continuing to get warmer. Dan Walkman going to come across the line. It's 1 minute 9.930, so an improvement there on his time. No, actually, slight non-improvement there, so he'll stay 20th in the order.
Well, that was his first time that actually counted, so that 109.901, which is about 0.3 of a second off the pace, isn't brilliant. There is Jake Maloney gearing up now for another flying lap. They've got 6 minutes here to set a flying lap left, and they are allowed to finish any lap that they crucially start around here. So that is definitely going to be worth its weight in gold. They've got to make sure that they are over the line before they reach the 0 marker on their qualifying sessions, but 7 thousandths the margin at the moment, and Jake Maloney, a driver at the start of the season, looked absolutely fantastic. Didn't look so good in the mid part, and he needs to find that early season form if he wants to be a title challenger, which he really desperately wants to be this season.
Yeah, he's a very, very underrated driver for how good he actually is, and he's been very, very good in the past, but it's something that he's going to have to try and work on in this round at least, to try and put himself in a good position for the end of the season where it's really going to matter and count.
So car 5 is being looked at. Andrew Gilliam then getting on the blower with Bailey Frid. There is, I believe, just spotting for his teammate going through. Big contact with Andrew Fraser, who was very slow through the bus stop. On a flyer was Bailey Frid, and effectively Andrew Fraser gets punted over towards the wall.
Yeah, that car looking a little bit worse for wear, crabbing how hard it is at the moment. We'll get a virtual racing school replay to see what's happened here, and yeah, I'd say that's not the best way to rejoin just from a casual observation.
It's not the easiest place. He's trying to let through as many drivers as possible here, but ultimately gets stuck, I would say, on the inside. And the moment he tries to get back going again and keep things through, it's one line suits all, bang! Where do you go if you're Bailey Frid?
Yeah, Frid with nowhere really to go there. Couldn't have cut across the grass in time, let alone have any sort of reaction to get out of the way in time and not have contact there. So unfortunately, both drivers having to bring it back to the lane, having extensive damage to their cars, and that's going to really hurt their qualifying session now. But nevertheless, they're back out there and repaired as Adam Briggs coming through the carousel now. He's going to be wanting to be improving on his fastest lap so far, which is 1 minute 9.383, coming into the second to last corner at the moment. It's looked like it's been an all right lap. Hasn't been one with a draft, though, so it might be slower, but he is deciding to bring it down onto the lane, so clearly was not going to be an improvement there.
There's been some great laps in on the books. Corey McFarlane, for example, is up in 4th position, and that is really, really solid from the 094 Drop Bear team. So they are going to be very, very happy, and he gets a big drift going into that carousel, and he's not going to do too much of that. Bradley Vaughan as well in 6th, Rick Kuznetsov in 7th as well. Those two also looking really, really strong in terms of their qualifying efforts with 3 minutes to go.
They're not very long left in the session, so those who haven't set very good laps or are trying to set one have got very little time to go. You can pretty much put a new set of tyres on and go from that moment onward, but sounding like Race Control isn't too happy.
No, they're not. Andrew Fraser has been given his orders, and he is therefore done with qualifying. Return to pits. You will no longer be able to put a lap down in on the board. So Andrew Fraser, who is 5th position right now for Trans-Tasman, gets on the wrong side of the stewards. He'll dive into the pits. His qualifying is donezo. There is the 95, of course. They're just going through. That was Glen Postlethwaite, and there is Sebastian Tixier for the Premier Racing team, looking to go through the final section. Is bringing along Bailey Frid for the ride here and looking to make that cross over the start-finish line. Everyone trying to get in on the toe of Emily Jones, but look at that. That's a 1:10.1 from Tixier. Really struggling there over the course of that lap to get any form of momentum sorted.
Yeah, not a great lap time at all when he's going to go around for a second time as well to try and make an improvement on his current lap time of 1 minute 9.698. So we're hoping to try and improve on the fact that he's going to be possibly starting on the final row of the grid, but we'll have to wait and see what's going to happen. Emily Jones, though, wanting to try and improve, is currently sitting provisional P3 in the order, so going to be a very, very nice starting position there for her, but whether she's going to be improving on this lap, I'm not sure, and I don't think she will based on how this has gone.
We know how we were saying that the track had gained 2 degrees of temperature. It's just lost all of that temperature straight back again. It's back to 44, and that will be due to reduced cars running on the circuit. Not everyone going out there for it right now. Stanaway is in the pit and has decided that I can do no better than second. Postlethwaite now in the 95, making a drive for the line. What's this going to be? It's a 109.227, and that is good enough to jump up to P6. So very nice in terms of time from Glen Postlethwaite. It's proved that there is time out there at this moment in time. If you are going to look for some times, you might as well go for it now. Exto Gaming and Corey Preston looking to try and get something, but that's wide through turn 6, and goodbye lap time.
Yeah, certainly goodbye lap time, and pretty much that's going to be his qualifying session over at this stage. So he's only going to start at best P12. Andrew Dyson, though, coming through the final corner, wanting to improve on his lap time, comes across the line, and it's going to be a 1 minute 9.475, just slightly slower than his current lap time.
Slightly slower, and that tells you all you need to know. Not able to find what is needed. Johnstone, 5 seconds remaining here. Will he make the line in time? Answer is checkered flag. He will not. So that's the first time on the board, and not quite where it's needed. A lot of drivers now taking the course of action to dive into the pits. Emily Jones can't improve. McFarlane going slick sideways in towards the pits, with Tixier following, Kelly following Postlethwaite into the lane as well, because Kuznetsov will be next then over towards the line in the 08 right now, also driving for the Premier Racing team. It's nice to see them getting more in that stable. No dice there. Kenneth Latta also cannot improve. There is the analytical car of Tyler Blackburn for Race on Oz, hoping for any attempt of time. Will go to the line. Will Tyler Blackburn? 109.5 is his best at the moment. As he crosses the line, 109.6. Couldn't get it done there, making the charge to the line. Chris Coxhead and Bailey Frid still out there. Coxhead trying to push the Zuva Racing Ventura IP machine over towards the line, and that is a 109.408. 1 position gained, leapfrogs Andrew Dyson with that one, and Frid then over to the line. Sorry, Bradley Vaughan over the line. Couldn't get that improvement. So that is everybody done in terms of the first half of qualifying. The second half confirmation of result of the first half. Jake Maloney is the trend setter at the moment, 108.971, 7 thousandths clear the Boost Mobile machine of Richie Stanaway, with Emily Jones in third place, Corey McFarlane in fourth, with Andrew Fraser fifth, Glenn Postlethwaite, our Super Split 2 winner, in sixth, Bradley Vaughan is seventh, Rick Kuznetsov in eighth, Kenneth Latter ninth, and Damien Johnstone rounding out then the top 10.
Then we go over the page, and you can have Bailey Fred, Adam Briggs, Corey Preston, Sean Linsdale, and Sean Kelly to round out the top 15. Chris Coxseed, Andrew Dyson, Tyler Blackburn, Tixia, and Mill Queen to round out that order.
Yep, order very much good. Apologies there, ladies and gentlemen, for the microphone struggling. I don't know whether I sound good, I sound bad, or I sound very much regular at this moment in time. I sound better, apparently, so all good there. So a lot of work then being done at this stage. We're going to have a little bit of an opportunity as we watch the virtual racing school safety car going around out there at this moment in time, to have a little conversation with Glen Postlethwaite, who picked up the victory then here in Super Split 2. Glenn, first and foremost, that Super Split 2 race for you was one which I'm pretty sure you're happy with. Got the gap after everyone squabbled behind, took the lead and didn't look back.
Yeah, hey guys. Yeah, I was pretty happy with the race, to be honest. I was not prepared coming into the round at all. I only did the first night, sort of half the night, and then was away for the weekend. So yeah, just jumped in and tried to be as aggressive as I could early on, just to sort of get near the front, because I was worried about battling, sort of holding people back. So yeah, I just tried to get to the front and sort of maintain a gap. But yeah, Thomas, he was coming pretty fast at the end there. It was, yeah, pretty hard to hang on to it.
Pretty hard to hang on. How important was fuel mileage in that race? It seemed like everyone was pretty much on struggle street with that.
I was alright with it. I sort of had enough space in the tank to fill up enough. It's just, yeah, if you get your numbers right, I suppose. But sitting behind for a few laps, saving a bit of fuel, and then, yeah, it was all good. So.
Yep, certainly was all good. Let's talk qualifying, though. You've got yourself 6th position at the moment, 109.2. Really good late lap from you as the track cooled down. How are you feeling your chances then? Hoping for potentially a top 20, top 15 start?
Yeah, with the lack of prep, I haven't really done many laps on a hot track, so happy enough with that, and just sort of channeling Hobbo there with the P6, just trying to keep that going. So, yeah, we'll see where we end up, I suppose.
Wouldn't be synergy without a P6 somewhere or other. But, Glenn, before we let you go, shout out sponsors, anyone you'd like to thank?
Yeah, JK Signs, Positives Mechanical Repairs, DGD Customs. That's about it. Hopefully the Synergy cars go all right tonight.
Hopefully they do indeed. Glen Postlethwaite, they're joining us 6th position right now in terms of work at this moment in time. Cam, the pace car will dive down into the lane with about 35 seconds to go. Henry King, officially, his lap time is a 2:53.6 on the board. So effectively what you could say with that is that he is the slowest driver and he's outside 107% at this moment in time. But the second lot of drivers now will be 10 seconds away from their get up and their go. They cannot leave their stall until the clock hits 0 for them, which we'll do in about 2 seconds time. And now everybody gets that chance to get going. Now it's about how do the main players of the game all get themselves up near the top.
Is all about how do these guys try and get their way to the front of that timesheet, and who's going to end up sitting where. Track is 45 degrees, so has gone up a degree compared to the end of that previous lot of qualifying, so could make for a possibly shaken up grid, but we'll have to wait and see regardless. But who's going to end up where is going to be the big talking point. Trans-Tasman Racing already forming quite the train at the front of the qualifying order, but it's anybody's guess as to what's going to happen in these next 10 minutes.
It is number 1, Madison Down leading them out. Kurt Stenberg behind that. Then Brady Myers in terms of position. And then 4th in the train is a driver who has known championships here. 3 of them to his name. Jared Philstout will be hoping for a really strong outing here at Watkins Glen. So watch out for these first times on the board. The track has risen to 45 degrees, so they're going to be at a slight disadvantage compared to those who started earlier, got 44-degree lap times. We are in partly cloudy conditions, as they go through. But Madison Down leading by example then as he goes through the opening corner and looks to try and attack his lap. Nice and neat there through the opening section. Didn't have to deviate too much to get back on circuit. And up through the S's, going along through the lefts and rights. How aggressive does he want to be today, knowing he's only 35 points down, no drop rounds included, up against teammate Richard Hampstead.
Yeah, and try and get bragging rights over Hammer with the fact that it's very, very close between those two. And currently leading Kurt Stenberg as well as Madison Down. So Stenberg is going to be having a very, very nice lap time. And then Meyer's not too far behind as well. So with those three certainly going to be near the top of the timesheets. But what Madison Down is going to produce in terms of a lap time for qualifying to get his banker on the board is going to be the big question coming through the final two corners now, using all the track he possibly can and a little bit extra coming out of the final corner now, using a little bit of wheel work, try and keep car straight. It's coming to the line and it's going to be a 1 minute 9.108, so provisionally near the front of the field.
Oh wow, look at all these times coming in. Cooper Webster on top. It was Phil Sell. Hobson was up in fourth at one point in time as Ethan Warren now makes a drive on a 108.786. To the top goes Ethan Warren now, searching for his first win in the series, and he puts the car up on pole position. He was the first driver in the new gen cars, which were first unveiled for us here at Scops, to get pole position. That was at Road America a couple of seasons ago. But there is Jake Burton in the number 8 machine, 109 flat. At this stage, he's hoping to improve on that, and it hasn't necessarily counted as of yet, but he's definitely going to be charging on the back of James Scott.
Yeah, we're charging to try and make this lap count. He's got Tom Freya on his back end as well, so he's going to have certainly no aerodynamic drag whatsoever, but he's hopefully not going to get held up here by James Scott, and he'll at least get a lap time on the board this time round, but he'll come into the lane, so no time is going to be on the board for Jake Burton at this stage.
At this stage is the crucial wording here. 11 minutes to figure it out. But Ethan Warren on top, Cooper Webster second, Josh Anderson is third, Jordan Caruso up there in P4, and then Jared Philsell in 5th place. Jake Maloney has been bumped from first down to 8th place after all of that effort going through. And I want to point out, Madison Down is in 15th position as things stand.
Bearing in mind, he hasn't had a draft just yet, and you can see the waiting at the end of the pit lane for everybody to try and get a draft of some sort. Madison Down waiting for his teammates to get on ahead as well, so he'll get a draft on this next run at least, and will shoot himself up the timing sheets very, very shortly. But now it's Brady Myers' turn to lead the Trans-Tasman train, but what's Madison Down going to be able to do and produce here?
What's he going to do? The track's cooled another degree. It's back at 44 again. It was up at 45. So these laps that will be coming into play are going to be ever so slightly quicker. Keep that in mind. James Scott out there at the moment trying to get himself nicely positioned. He's in 10th place at this point in time and would love a little bit more to be up there with his two teammates, Cooper Webster and Jordan Caruso. On top of that, they have been absolutely sensational this season, the Altus team, and they've got to really work it. And this very much has a reminiscent feel, you would say, of, say, Monza. Philsell's backed it off. Myers has backed it off. Someone's got to be the guinea pig and has got to get going. It's Ethan Warren, the driver who's on pole, who's going to say, you know what, everyone follow me.
Yeah, there's a little bit of backing up going on there. No one wants to lead, and everybody wants to try and get some sort of draft. But Ethan Warren has led the train, and he's going to be the one that's going to come across the line first to start the stopwatch. And everybody else is going to follow on through single file, try and see if they can improve on their current personal best.
Yeah, that current personal best is absolutely massive. They've all got to be careful about turn one's exit as well. They can't afford any off-track incident point. Of course, if you make any form of hit, 0x or otherwise, your lap time does get invalidated. So they have to be pretty squeaky clean with the track limits as they go around. They get deleted very, very quickly. And it's not a case of it being liberal. It's fixed in the sand here by the iRacing system as they go on through. There is Ethan Warren and co making that charge through the outer loop then at turn 5. We'll be looking for those times. They head to 6 and 7.
Yeah, we're certainly looking for those times as they head towards the final sector of the lap. I'm going to say it's probably not going to be an improvement for Ethan Warren, but will it be an improvement for Myers and Stenberg and Hobson as well and everybody else behind? I'd say it's going to be, they're going to head towards the start-finish line. Brady Myers is going to cross the line, and it's going to be an improvement, but not by much, and it's going to shuffle the order as everybody else continues to improve. Phil Sell improved.
Oh, James Scott
dropped to the top, and Webster and Warren dropped down the order a little bit.
Tom Freer for a moment was up there. Lee Ellis now moves up then into P6. Madison down goes third fastest. So all the times coming in on the board, they are starting to find that pace and find exactly what they want. The one driver now in this group who's not got a time yet that's representative on the board is the 52 Jinx Shifters machine of Kobe Jones. So Kobe in a world of trouble at the moment. He's got to find a lap. He's got to find the train as well. But look at this. 108.730. It's 8 thousandths at the top. Scott from Philcell. We're in for a really, really good race as things stand with Ethan Warren fourth. And again, just changes up and down the order. Maloney and Stanaway have been bumped to 13th and 14th now.
Yes, there's been a massive shake-up in the grid, and that changeover from that track temp difference, and also just the way that the weather's changed in some form, as well as more rubber going down as well, has really hurt some of those drivers early on, and now all those that went out later are really benefiting.
They absolutely are, and that benefit is coming into play. They are finding the lap times that they need out there, but it has hotted up once again out there on track. It's an ebb and it's a flow, and we have been seeing this lap upon lap upon lap. You've got to hope that you're in the right ballpark to make it happen. They're down to 6 minutes, and they're all trying to make sure that they've got enough time to leave themselves that one big lap. Just to talk about some of the drivers who have done okay and who hasn't, well, let's just put this into perspective right now. 0.3 of a second here, Cam, split the top 21 drivers in this field. That's all the way down to Jordan Ross. Richard Hampstead, your championship leader, is all the way down in P18. You'll tell who he is by the Trans-Tasman machines because he'll have the red banner on top of his car, which indicates he's the points leader. He is in desperate need of 0.2.
Yeah, he's in very, very dire need of those extra 0.2, as he is very much in a position that he probably doesn't want to be in for this race at all. So you want to improve on the lap that he's got on the board, which is a 109.012, and he should be able to do that with who is in front of him, Madison Down, Josh Anderson, and Jake Burton as well.
Yep, so a very strong train in front of Richard Hampstead, being left to his own devices as he tries to find enough pace to go and make something happen. Let's gear it up again. Another attempt of flying laps. James Scott has left a lot of room on his train as he looks to try and improve. Cooper Webster in 5th place at this moment in time on a 108.8, and now every lap comes in vital. There is the Mr. Antenna car of Corey Shepherd, maybe a name that might want to jump up and find some time at this stage. Is down in P20 as things stand for the Premier the sim racing team, and has a big gap in front to Kurt Sternberg. I think he slightly missed the train.
Yeah, he slightly missed the train there based on that gap that he's got, and unfortunately it's going to really hurt him in the lap time department, and he probably won't improve as a result of missing out on that crucial draft. But what can Cooper Webster do? Is he going to be able to improve on his current position of P5 in the qualifying order? He's got his teammate James Scott, who currently leads the way in qualifying at the moment, just in front of him. They're going to have to be careful though, because Brenton Hobson and Tom Freire are not too far behind, and pulling over is James Scott. So I'd say Webster's on a very, very hot lap if that's the case, because there's no way you would pull over and let your teammate on by unless there's a very, very specific reason. So I'd say we're about to see the top of the time change.
Hampstead and Burton have come together. Burton had a huge wiggle, didn't lift, but Richard Hampstead and the two of them are spread eagle across the back end of turn 6. Just like that, a huge moment, and the stewards are going to have to really dissect this as we look on the Virtual Racing School replay cam.
You're not quite sure what happened out of the carousel for Burton, but he really checked up, and as a result, it really caused Hampstead to have to go around the long way. He dropped onto the grass and then clipped him on the way by, unfortunately, and both of them ending up in a lot of trouble.
That is huge. Absolutely huge for qualifying. They will both make it back to the pit so they can get a fresh car and attack this one once again. But it's crucial to note that we didn't really see that much improvement. Josh Anderson jumped up to P6 there with that time. Cooper Webster maybe had a minuscule amount of improvement. And it's worth keeping in mind as well, Jordan Caruso, who is in 9th position, has had a throughput. He's had a disconnection from the server, so he's not going to be able to get any more laps in, I wouldn't have thought, in 9th place, unless the stewards let him go back out again.
Yeah, he's going to be in a little bit of trouble in that department if the track does cool off, or if everybody starts to go a little bit quicker. So his qualifying may well be over, and he may end up having to start inside the top 10 in P9. So he's not going to be too happy with that throughput, but we'll have to see what the rest of the field is going to do, as Lee Ellis is just waiting for, you'd have to presume, Madison Down and Kurt Stenberg and everybody else to filter on through so he can slot in behind, and we'll see what's going to happen. But he's looking like he's going to lead the train.
It looks like this is the last chance saloon for trains. If you're going to make it happen now, 2 minutes, 12 seconds on the clock, there's not going to be enough time to get a lap, an in-lap, and an out-lap done again. This is your last chance to find the laps. This is the last opportunity. Lee Ellis leads them. We're looking at Brenton Hobson here. He's 17th at the moment, and every time will mean so very, very much in terms of getting what you can out of it. On the run towards the 90, turn number 1, out there on track, nice and narrow, nice and neat, trying to follow in the tracks of Richard Hampstead there just in front of him. Through the S's section, this is where you can get a little bit of aero wash going through this section if you are not completely behind the driver in front of you. And now that run to turns 4 and then 5, well, now turn 5, even you can say, if they go through the bus stop, is going to be paramount at this stage. There are 2 separate trains at the moment. There is the one train we're seeing with Lee Ellis. There's the other train with Ethan Warren. So 2 trains to keep an eye out on. The first train now making its way towards turn 6 and 7. Hobson on the back of this one, searching for time. So we'll see what's going to go along. One driver's definitely not going to improve. That's one of the Trans-Tasman machines there. That's Kurt Stenberg, who's qualifying is all but done. But as they make that drive over towards the line, what can they do? Who's going to find any improvements? We're looking at Hobson right now. There's nothing for Madison Down at the moment. A few drivers trying to jump up. Hampstead goes up to P12 with that time, and Brenton Hobson on a 9 flat remains in 18th place. Wayne Burke just jumps up into that 18th place to 19th, and there is Phil Sell up to the top there. 1:08.6. What a lap there that was as they go through. Still drivers searching for something here. Ethan Warren's train now making that drive to the line, and this will be the final times that we will see Webster, Scott, Myers, Warren. Who can dethrone Jared at this stage? Gilliam in there, Kobe Jones searching for something. What is going to come of this? We look at the top of the times. Who has done enough? Myers on a 9-1 couldn't do enough, and Webster 688 has stolen it by 0.02 of a second to take pole position.
Yeah, very, very good lap by Cooper Webster to just steal it in the dying minutes, and by the slimmest margins in that you could possibly think of over Jared Filsell. What a finish to qualifying.
What a finish to qualifying. In theory, you can still improve your lap time out there. Jordan Caruso out there on circuit. No draft to help. Trying to find something. There's a wall of Trans-Tasman from 4th down to 8th place at the moment. Caruso will see the checker as he goes on through. And that is a 1:09 flat. So no dice there in terms of lap time. But what a qualifying lap that is from Cooper Webster. Jared Filsell, 40 found the staging of old, but Webster will take the pole. 1:08, it's been rounded up to 689. 1,000th, it will be classified as quicker than United Sim Sports' Jared Filsell. James Scott will go from third with the reigning champion Madison Down in fourth position. Ethan Warren lines up fifth with Josh Anderson in sixth place alongside there, and another row of Trans-Tasman with Lee Ellis and Brady Myers, seventh and eighth positions on the grid. Jordan Caruso can only manage ninth after a disconnect midway through his qualifying efforts, and a great qualifying. Gives some credit to the 707 of Tom Freer, puts it up in P10.
Yeah, very, very nice lap there, but you're going to have Ethan Grigolton, Richard Hampstead on the following row, and then you're going to have Andrew Gilliam and then Jake Maloney and Co. all down the order, and the rest of your top 20 all following through.
Certainly are. Richie Stanaway is there in what is going to be 15th position. Jordan Ross P16. Jake Burton, poor qualifying. He would have thought a little bit more, but he is still only a couple of tenths off there in 17th, with Kurt Stenberg there in 18th position alongside then Wayne Burke 19th. Brenton Hobson was as high as 4th at one point in qualifying. He ends up only with 20th position, with Emily Jones P21 she is, and Corey Shepherd 22nd. Corey McFarlane for Drop Bear is 23rd, with Andrew Fraser 24th. Got effectively evicted from qualifying after his hit, with our Super Split 2 winner Glenn Postlethwaite in 25th alongside Kobe Jones in 26th. Following that is Bradley Vaughan and Rick Kuznetsov there 27th and 28th, with Kenneth Latter 29th and Damian Johnstone in 30th.
Then you're going to have Bailey Fred just outside at the top 30 alongside him, Adam Briggs, Corey Preston and Sean Linsdale going to make up row 17 with Sean Kelly, and Chris Coxhead just behind them on row 18, and then Andrew Dyson, Tyler Blackburn, Sebastian Tixier and Damon Mulqueen to round out the 40-car field.
Yep, 40 cars, all looking to prove exactly what they have got today. They have seen it all. They have done it all. There are opportunities awaiting here. This is not 32 laps worth of racing. Double it, 64 laps worth of action. This is going to be a very, very important battle they've got, and they've got 3 minutes, of course, to grid themselves up and get themselves ready. A lot of drivers making a few mistakes early, but if this is going to be laden with safety cars, this will be a strategy race here today. So this is the key. They've got to make 2 compulsory pit stops as well, Cam. Who's the pick?
Who the pick is, that's a very, very good question. It's anybody's guess as to who is going to be the race winner tonight. You can't, I don't think you can discount anyone inside that top 20 because it's just so close and everybody's got some sort of a chance. Obviously, those top 5 are probably the favorites, but yeah, it's anybody's guess as to who it's going to be. And there's a few drivers starting down the order that are going to be coming on through, so you can't discount anyone, really.
You cannot discount anyone. You cannot discount opportunity. There are so many chances available to them today, and 64 laps, they are absolutely fantastic. Watkins Glen, the spectacle, the showcase that we will be having here for this one in the hot conditions. Cooper Webster in control on the front of the field. He has been a revelation this season. He's looking for his 4th race win of the season if he can get it done. Madison Down might want to say something. So will James Scott. So will the 3-time champion Jared Filsell in the 94 want to make something happen. 3 minutes on the clock. Light going on here at Watkins Glen. Let's get ourselves ready. 64 laps here of this Cup circuit. They will start at some point soon, hopefully. We're going to get things going. It's going to go right now. Long hold, waiting for the lights. Filsell gets a really good start then alongside Cooper Webster. Immediately trying to get alongside and pinch him to that inside and get the natural line through turn 1. He's going to get what he wants and then some, but now they're going to fight each other too wide here as they go up towards the S's section. This is going to be dicey here. Who's going to fight it at turn 3? This is the key as they go through and up the hill. Filsell on that inside, leaving just enough room, taking the race lead. Now watch them concertina.
Yeah, they're all going to concertina up as now here comes James Scott giving his teammate a push. He's going to look to the inside of Cooper Webster on the way down towards the bus stop, trying to go defensive on the Trans-Tasman pairing of Down and Warren. Anderson in there as well as Lee Ellis, all of them bunched up after what happened there, but what a start from Filsell, just exactly what he wanted.
They all got through cleanly, all 40 cars cleanly for now. That's the key for now, because James Scott is searching for opportunities with Cooper Webster all over the back, and they check up a little bit then. 4th, 5th, 6th, down, Warren, Anderson, all there. Ellis now, mirrors full of Carusos. They go through a bit of side-by-side as Brady Myers has himself a handful. It's Ethan Grigalt wants to go through, and championship leader Richard Hampstead. We look at the race leaders right now. Watch some serpentine on the run towards turn 1, and the dive start coming.
They start coming further back as drivers trying to make up positions here, there, and everywhere. As Maloney and co. have got their hands full going on as Tom Freer's going to try and get a move done. Maloney with a big moment on the way up through the air, has nearly lost the rear end, and that's going to leave him susceptible to a move from Gilliam, and the lead is on as well.
It's on, and Philsel's going to drop 2 for the price of 1 here. The Altus cars are 1-2 all of a sudden, as through went Scott, through went Webster. Very clever there from Altus to work both cars through on the run up towards that chicane. That is a great overtake to make that happen, and the work done brilliantly. The check up on where everyone's gone. Not many changes in the top 20, so to speak, off. Stanaway down 1 into 16th place. He's watching Jordan Ross just in front as the trains now start to form once again. Everyone's trying to get going, and I'll tell you what a scrap that is. Richie Stanaway versus Jake Burton. These are two who will not want to give it up between each other.
They won't want to give it up at all, and they'll certainly be fighting tooth and nail the whole way between those two. What's going to happen? Burton's going to look to the inside with a big dive. Stanaway's going to drive it around the outside and keep the traction and momentum on his side, and he's going to hold on to that position. Burton's going to have to concede and slot back in behind, so going to be no gain for him there.
And they're really causing a huge gap to the group in front, so that could be the break in the pack that's looking at side by side in front of that, as well as that is Jordan Ross and Emily Jones going at it then for position as Burton gets his move done. Emily Jones gets her move done then as they go through. So 2 very nice overtakes then being sorted out and situated at this stage. They make that descend through the long carousel, a killer of left-hand side tyres.
Right, everybody's managed to make it through scot-free. 3 laps in, and it's clean as it can be so far. No real major dramas, but everybody just biding their time in some respects. Some drivers waiting and just saving fuel. Some more trying to make their way through the order, as we're seeing back here. Preston getting around the outside on one of the DPR cars, and he's looking like he's going to have that move completed, but it's going to be very, very close between those two.
These are 2 former teammates fighting, by the way. And oh no, the former teammates came together. Latter into the back of Corey Preston, and he goes spearing off into a huge spin. Race control will get called for that, and Preston keeps the motor running, so we are going to stay green. But Kenneth Latter into the back of Corey Preston. There was a little bit of "what are you doing" on the radio, but just like that, not ideal at all.
Not ideal at all, and Corey will be a little bit like he's hard done by as his contact between Andrew Gilliam and Jake Burton as Burton gets the bumper and shoulders out there.
Yeah, those were some real shoulders, and Stanaway now in trouble because through down the inside goes Wayne Burke for position then. So welcome to Scops, Richie. You're finding yourself on the wrong end of the freight train. It's now going to be Hobson and Stenberg who will want to get through next and find those places. So every battle, every position is going to mean a whole heap. Defensive for second though at the moment, as now it's rear gunner guard duties for James Scott as Jared Philsell tries to work out a way back through into position. Can't get it sorted, and now look at how much of a gap has opened up here to Cooper Webster at the front. It's now over half a second.
Definitely been a pretty big gap opening between Scott and Webster's starting to check out a little bit, which is a little bit interesting considering those two are a very equal pace. But now what this will be doing is frustrating Phil Sell, who's going to want to find a way on by, because Scott might just be holding the rest of the pack up ever so slightly to give Webster some breathing room.
Yep, certainly will do. So a penalty in for Kenneth Latter. Race control called by Kobe Jones after a hit from Bradley Vaughan from behind in towards turn number 1. So a few things going on here and there. The 29 machine we focus on at this stage. This is Jake Maloney on the back then of Tom Freer trying to close down some gaps. Freer down 2 places. Maloney up 1 place at this stage. They go through turn number 6 out on circuit and look for as much as they possibly can in this stage. Now this gets really interesting in terms of those 2 compulsory pit stops. Of course, you can save to 1 stop here around this one, and look at the side-by-side behind here, because they are right on it here. Gillian, Burke, Burton, all there as they fight through into this section. Maloney's tried to get his move as well. It's not worked out. Suddenly, Burton's got drive off of the exit here. Oh, it's a big one. Into the wall goes one of the Trans-Tasman cars. Just like that, it's Maloney in trouble.
Maloney with big issues, and he's going to try and keep it out of the way, but that was not what he will have wanted at all. That was a massive impact.
Virtual Racing School replay on screen for you, ladies and gentlemen. This is how it all came about. On the brakes, into one. He overshot himself through the corner. Tom Freer grabs the inside, and well, you have to say it's the emphasis then of Jake Maloney to rejoin the track safely, because he is outside of the bounds there going off there at turn 1.
Certainly didn't really do a good job of rejoining there, but at the same time, he probably knew that he was going to be coming straight back over to Tom Freer, so kind of both parties involved in that one, but in the end, it was Jake Maloney who came off second best.
I mean, Freer's on the track and Maloney isn't. He's entitled to not leave him space.
You raise a good point, but yeah, I think we'll leave race control to deal with that one.
So the 100 machine, which is Bradley Vaughan, is now being told to redress behind the 52 of Kobe Jones. As we look right now, there is Bradley Vaughan. That's going to be a mess to try and redress, to try and get back, because, well, you look at where he is right now, and, well, I think he's already got exactly what he wants out of it. The 52 has already got that done. So, ultimately, that is going to be awkward. What a big train that is, by the way, in the mid to late pack. Lap 7 here of 64.
It's an absolutely massive train. Pretty much, you could call it a literal freight train, because there's so many cars involved in it. It pretty much goes to the tail end of the field.
Absolutely does, and all work to be done. There is Jake Maloney, who was looking for something. This will be a drop round for him, mark my words about that, but there are the leaders out there. It is a train which stretches all the way back to maybe Lee Ellis in 8th place, or 7th place at this stage. If you count that, it goes back to Richard Hampstead there in P11, but some good work being done. Cooper Webster on the front, James Scott there in 2nd position, and that's a look down the inside. Jordan Caruso, hello, goodbye. Lee Ellis caught waiting at the station.
Yeah, I was caught napping quite a lot there, and in the end, move it made it by Caruso. So Caruso is going to gain to that one and move it into 7th position. But the big question is whether he's going to be able to catch up Anderson, or whether he's going to end up coming back under attack from Lee Ellis and Brady Myers.
That's a really good question as well. Myers and also Greg Galt as well in the mix. They're going to want to try and get through and stay with this front train. I'd say anyone in these top 11 places split by 3.8 seconds, they have options in front of them when it comes to the strategy here today. They know they've got to make 2 pit stops, but they've also got to be alert to if a potential safety car comes out here today, because as we know in this series, safety cars change races.
100%, and especially around here where everybody's trying to save that little bit of fuel and trying to make their strategy as good as it possibly can be. So if a safety car is really going to throw a cat amongst the pigeons and really going to spice things up quite a bit.
On board from the rear of Richie Stanaway, looking at Jake Burton. So Stanaway's got back through there after all the incidents. And Corey Shepherd's going for a huge lunge down the inside. Is he going to get both of them? He makes contact there with Kurt Stenberg, who's going to run out wide. That's going to allow Emily Jones the chance to dive through in the McLaren Shadow car. So 2 for the price of 1 there. Kurt Stenberg will not be a happy chappy as he goes on through, knowing that that was a very big lunge there from what was the 718.
A very, very big lunge, and probably had unnecessary contact in there as well, but it's better to at least keep going rather than be in the fence, as Stenny would say. So he'll keep on going and charging on, but he'll want to try and recover those 2 positions. Meanwhile, at the front of the field, Phil Sales just still continuing to sit in behind James Scott, who still hasn't really closed that gap down much to Cooper Webster as well. So still playing a little bit of a backstop role here is James Scott, but Phil Sale still continuing to run to a strategy of just trying to save as much fuel as he can.
Well, that's the key as well. If you save fuel, that means that you can go slower on the stops. Now, first stop in is Richard Hampstead from the back of the train in 11th place. I like this decision from Richard Hampstead. He's got nothing to lose on the back of that pack. He will go out, get some clean air, put some laps in on the board and try and get a massive undercut on everybody else.
Certainly not a bad strategy call at all there from Richard Hampstead to try and get some clean air and get out of the mess that is the mid-pack. So it'll be interesting to see where he's going to end up slotting it back in once pit cycles have happened for the first round of stops.
And that first round of stops is going to be so vital as they make that descent. Lap 10 of 64 then at this stage. Who is going to be where? Big side-by-side as a Super Split 2 winner goes around. There goes Glen Postlethwaite hard into the wall and able to get some drive back going again after that hit. It's going to rejoin there just behind the teammate there. And there is a virtual racing school replay. How did that one all come about? It was side-by-side with Shepherd all the way through it. And then the drop bear car just tries to sneak down the inside, and the door shut there for Glen Postlethwaite. Couldn't shut it in time.
Fortunately, McFarlane stuck his nose in, and he was there and entitled to have the space. As he was on the way down the front straight, this can only go one possible way. A very, very big send from Kobe Jones on the way into turn 1, but he's made it stick, and that was an absolutely brilliant move.
Yeah, Kobe getting it done. Somehow it's back single file again in this pack. Kuznetsov, Johnstone, Vaughan, Frid, Briggs, Linsell, Dyson, Kelly, Coxhead. You could say Blackburn and Mulqueen are there as well, all searching for places here as they make that charge up. Just in front of that is Corey Shepherd, is Kurt Stenberg as well as they go on through, and they are all nicely single file once again. I did also note a bit of contact between Andrew Gilliam and Tom Freer. Freer's lost 2 places because of it as we look right up forward here in this battle at the very, very front. Now, I'm interested to note how you play the team game. There are 3 Trans-Tasman cars in this train. Surely you send one of these 3 through early and probably Josh Anderson.
Here's another question. Are they using Hampstead as a guinea pig in some respects? Because he's the only one of those, I guess you could say, front runners to have pitted as early as he has. So it'll be interesting to see what's going to happen and whether they're using him as a little bit of a test. But all the PPR cars coming into the lane, this is an interesting strategy called by that team.
DPR have a strategy on hold. One of the Trans-Tasman cars running wide there. Also in is Postlethwaite. No surprises there in the 95. So a lot of work being done. Leaders still in that battle. It goes all the way back to Ethan Grigalt, by the way. We keep an eye out, of course, on where Richard Hampstead is. He's in clean air at the moment. He's got about 8 seconds to Corey Preston right now. So there is a slot if you want to go into the pit and get service done. You will come out in some clean air, so that is worth keeping in mind. Webster leading this race, has done so since lap 2 when he got past Jared Filsell on the run up to the chicane. Just looking, no takers yet again on this one, but you got the likes of Myers and Ellis who are desperately trying to get to the back of the train, which Jordan Caruso has masterfully managed.
Yeah, correctly. There's going to be no further action according to race control on that incident between Postlethwaite and McFarlane. So racing incident, it has been deemed, which is good for both parties. A little bit of sour taste in the mouth left for Postlethwaite, but nevertheless they'll keep on racing. But what that train's going to do is going to be very, very interesting. Like you said, with Jordan Caruso and co, not too far behind.
Not too far behind indeed. So there is, oh my word. That's a mistake. That's a big mistake. And that is around you go. Jordan Caruso. First time this season we've really seen a mistake. And I'd have to say at this point, you should hit reverse, buddy, because you're not going to get it flip spun from there.
Stalled it, but he hasn't started the car back up. So not quite sure what's happened there, but doesn't look like he's moving anytime soon.
No, it doesn't. And this is really big. Safety car is deployed. The spin there for Jordan Caruso will call the safety car. So we catch this on replay then. Jordan Caruso just locked. He blew his engine actually going into the corner. So he blows it. He spins it. He goes around. And just like that, we are under caution. Now, what does this do for the entirety of the field? Everyone now is in a position of where do you go? And now look who stayed out. Look at everybody who stayed out and everyone who's come in. Ellis, Myers, Griggle in. Top 7 or so stayed out.
Top 7 stayed out, although I don't think they had much choice because of where they were when the safety car was called. They were already past the pit exit, so pit entry. So the top 7 have all just been pretty much more or less screwed, whereas Lee Ellis is now the leading pit car.
Now, this is important to hear. Now, they have been given instruction by Henry King at Race Control. Extreme caution to be taken as they go on through. There's the safety car waiting to pick up the leaders. Extreme caution to be taken because if you do hit Jordan Caruso, who stopped there at the bus stop, you will be issued a penalty for hitting a parked car. Now everyone else will dive in. Webster and Co. And they would have been pushing. Oh, they're side by side. They're making contact in the lane. Scott and Thilsell making contact under caution coming to the lane.
Not what they will have wanted to have happen, and it's possibly damaged those 2 cars as well. We'll have to see if there's a little bit longer of a pit stop for those 2, but this is going to be very, very interesting to see who pops out where and who's going to have the shorter stops.
Oh, Anderson very slightly missed his box, I think, there. There is Lee Ellis, by the way, who's looking to go through. Now, this is key. How is this going to play? Lee Ellis is going to be absolutely fanging it down the straight. And Richard Hampstead, remember the opening pit stop that he had, he's just taken the race lead here of this one. They're going to be out and away. Nick Parker in control. Now, watch where Lee Ellis funnels out in all of this. He's going to jump Jared Philsell, and Grig Galt's going to jump James Scott. What a horrible stop for James Scott. What a topsy-turvy field we have under caution.
It has certainly been shaken up, and that undercut strategy by Richard Hampstead has well and truly played into his hands with that early stop to get some clean air. So he is now your effective race leader and in an absolute prime position.
What a masterstroke by Richard Hampstead. What a masterstroke. This is how the field stacks up then as they go on through. Richard Hampstead is your race leader at this stage with Cooper Webster in second. Madison Down is now in third with Lee Ellis in position number 4. And in P5 now is Jared Philsell. Your big loser from the pit stop is James Scott. He is now back there in 7th position overall at this stage, and this becomes a real cause of work to do in the middle stages of this race. It's the first caution we've had. It's taken a little while coming here, but now that's one stop out of the way, it effectively becomes a one stop from here.
Certainly does become a one stop from here, and I think the big talking point is with the fact that we've got a safety car now, this is going to completely change the complex of the race because of the fact that you're going to have some drivers on a slightly different fuel strategy than others, and others on better tyres, some on older tyres, and then you've also got the fact that this is also going to make that final stop ever so slightly different in terms of what you have to take in fuel numbers.
Yeah, and those numbers are going to be key. Now, watch how much of a gap has been left here by Cooper Webster. He is leaving a huge margin out there at this stage. Everyone is on maximum fuel save mode.
Everybody will be in maximum fuel save mode, trying to save every single milliliter they possibly can in the fuel tank to try and make sure that final stop is going to be as short as it possibly can.
The track has been cleared of Jordan Caruso's blown motor, so that then is all sorted at the bus stop. We are 1/4 of the way through 16 of 64. We are through this one with Richard Hampstead in control. Now, this is going to be interesting as well. Just looking at those pit lane times, Richard Hampstead was 6 seconds quicker on his stop compared to everybody else who took full service, which says to me, Richard Hampstead is going to be coming in a lot earlier than everybody else is around him.
Obviously done the undercut strategy, and he's obviously filled up a lot less to try and get track position, so he's going to be at a disadvantage in the second stop. But with that said, if he can save enough fuel, which it's a lot of fuel, but if he can save a reasonable amount of fuel, he might actually be okay for that second stop and might not actually lose out as much as we think he might.
Yeah, just a redress order coming in then, as Sean Linsell has to be behind Kobe Jones as and when the caution was called. I'll tell you who else has been a big gainer from all of this. It's Andrew Fraser, also with a really short stop. He's now up into 14th, and I'll tell you what, how intimidating is this, starting a restart with Richie Stanaway behind you?
So it's so intimidating, I reckon, and the last thing you want to do is have him poke his nose out of nowhere and get a really fun surprise at somewhere like turn 1. So hopefully you'll get a very good restart and it isn't having to fend off Stanaway on the way off this restart.
Yeah, he certainly will. Of course, a lot of chat in our YouTube chat. Seems like Pursuit and Simon Feigl over at Altus having a lot of discussion about the strategy, hoping that it's all working out. It's nice to see them out there and having a whole heap of fun with us here at SimSpeed TV. An opportunity now that if you haven't already, you can like, share, and subscribe here with us at SimSpeed TV with everything going forward. Racing will resume at the end of this lap. We will go back to green on lap 18 of 64 with Richard Hampstead in control. And the general perspective is that Hampstead's on older tyres compared to everyone else who's on brand new fresh ones.
Certainly everybody else on brand new tyres compared to Richard Hampstead, who's done a few laps on that set that he's on at the moment already. So there's going to be a few lap disadvantage for him over everybody else, and it's around 6-7 laps difference. So it's going to be a very big grip difference between everybody else and Richard Hampstead, but we'll have to see what's going to happen regardless.
Well, he last pitted on lap 10. The caution came out around lap 13, lap 14. So I think he's only got 3 or 4 laps, really, which isn't much, but it's enough. And I think the crucial factor is it is enough. 5 laps on tyres does do a lot. Cooper Webster in second would love to regain that race lead once again and do so in a very aggressive manner against the Trans-Tasman Championship leader, as things stand, indicated by the red banner on top of Richard Hampstead's machine. But the gap being left then as the race control, Nick Parker under the Porsche Cayman 718 SCOPS first safety car is now going to take that charge over towards then the penultimate couple of corners. Hampstead has got the control and he will be able to choose when he wants to go. And I'm sure the acceleration zone will be some point before turn number 7 out there overall. Watch out for Greg Galt as well, as he wants to try and make some charges through. He's up 5 places of his own, working a very good strategy game. But Richard Hampstead gets the launch and he will look to try and get going very quickly. We're back underway at Watkins Glen, lap 18 of 64.
Very nice restart from Hampstead. He's already built himself a little bit of a buffer. I'm surprised he went as early as he did, but nevertheless, he's made it work in his favour as best he can. No real moves happening at turn 1 by the looks of it, and everybody getting on through nice and cleanly as well.
Yeah, nice clean start. Exactly what we want to see is everyone makes that charge up the hill through 2, 3 and 4. Once again on this restart, very nice work being done as we focus on the 18 machine we did very briefly of Lee Ellis, who is up there in P4, and they make that charge, of course, back to the chicane once again. If there's any way you're going to see where the tyres aren't going to be working for Richard Hampstead, it's this corner right here, the long right of the carousel, the outer loop. This is where you'd say if you've got tyre life, it works in your favour, and that's what Cooper Webster's going to be playing the game for at this stage.
So there's everybody else as well. They're going to be using those new tyres to their advantage as Madison Down looked to possibly make a move on Cooper Webster, but decided to think better of it and just sit in behind. But he is going to be certainly the cork in the bottle is Richard Hampstead with those old tyres compared to everybody else.
I'd look at Lee Ellis right now. He got a really good run out the final corner. He was struggling a little bit out of 6, grabbed a bit of grass. There's a few looks here and there. Oh, here comes the dive from James Scott and Jared Filsell into one. Ellis and Filsell rubbing against each other as they go through. Sorted out nicely. Through then in the background will go Ethan Warren on James Scott, and then Joshua Anderson gets the move done on Ethan Grigalt. So some great moves as they go up the hill. It's still not done because there's a little check up from James Scott, and here comes Anderson and co.
And Scott's going to go mega defensive on the way down towards the bus stop chicane, and it's looking like he's just going to get away with it as Anderson is nearly going to get shuffled out by Ethan Grigalt. Grigalt's going to take that one off Anderson and keep it off him. Myers right in there now, as well as Bork, Gilliam and Ross.
Yeah, they're all there and all fighting hard for it, and you can see how much they want these positions right now as here goes Gilliam versus Ross at the back of this pack now in towards that penultimate corner, and ultimately that move doesn't work. Grass for Jordan Ross, that will drop him about a good half a second there as he goes on through. Now look back forward, you've got Jay Burton here against the 104 of Andrew Fraser, who's dropping backwards. Got some side-by-side as Lee Ellis now looks to try and get back through on Ethan Warren here for the top 5. Gets it done, there's contact! There's contacts they go through. They're going to check each other up. They're 3-4 wide as they try and figure it out. Somehow we're all in a straight line, but they're still 3 wide. Look at this. No, don't look at this. Big contact there. Rick Cole sent to the fence, I do believe there, and he's somehow going to get back on, and they're still fighting and banging up in front. Jordan Ross finds himself an avenue as he chases pavements.
Chaotic turn 1 and 2. I don't know how they all got away with that without ending up in the fence. Greg Galt managed to bounce across the grass, get very, very crossed up, but kept it out of the wall and out of everybody's way as well. So very, very good heads-up driving by Greg Galt. But what a shake-up in the top 10 it's been now after that.
All of this, by the way, has allowed the top 5 to break, and that is crucial for their races. Less to worry about, more side-by-side. Corey Shepherd looking down the inside then as Ethan Grigalt has to deal with a lot of things. Brenton O'Brien, team boss, of course, at ERT, gets on the radio for Ethan Grigalt about that hit. Henry King says, yep, okay, we're having a look at it, buddy. Shepherd still fighting with Grigalt. You've got Frid there, Jones, Kobe Jones, that is, Linsell, Dyson, Vaughan, all in the train as they dive in towards turn 1 once again, and Shepherd still trying to cover this off. Grigalt round the outside. He's going to try and get him some room. He's given the room, of course, and he keeps the place.
Just keeps the place for the time being, but back at the front of the field, Richard Hampstead is coming under attack from Cooper Webster. He's still leading the race for the time being, but there is going to be a point where he is going to have to bring it down onto the lane to get some fuel and get some tyres and get his way back out on there. But when that's going to happen is the big question, and the fact that Webster hasn't passed him yet is going to mean that's going to come very, very soon at this rate.
Yes, it certainly will, and soon is going to be an awesome time to see overtakes. And now you're starting to wonder here, lap 21, are we settling into strategy central here at this point for those at the front? Because they are now being caught up once again by the likes of Anderson, Myers, Burke and Gilliam here as they race very, very hard for position. This is a very tough battle that they find themselves in, and Richard Hampstead, of course, on the older tyres, will be holding up this train, but they don't want to all sacrifice themselves for one big move. There is one Mr. Jordan Ross behind him, Richie Stanaway, trying to get himself into play. It's a synergy sandwich for Stanaway. He's got Brenton Hobson, Hovo 88 is just behind.
He's trying his best to try and catch up to Jordan Ross and get the move done. He's up a few positions from where he started already, and off the restart he's gained a few as well, so he's not doing too bad for himself, but he still needs to get a move on. Still got plenty of cars to pass to make it on through.
Plenty of cars to pass. Look at this. Jared Filsell absolutely shadowed by Ethan Warren. The two pretty good friends with each other as they go on forward now towards turn 6s and 7s once again, and as they try and figure out where they need to be and how to make a move. This is the key about this pack style racing. You've got to make a move in a place where it's not going to work out or for your opponent, and you're not going to cost yourself time. Virtual Race School replay, I believe this is Bailey Frid that we're having a look at here right now. He's immediately on the blower to race control, so something happening here, maybe with Kobe Jones, maybe with Corey Shepherd. It looks more like it's trying to be a move here as they go under braking. Is it going to be contact from behind, or is it contact through the corner? Oh, Shepherd got unsettled over the curb, and that was the first hit.
First hit. There was no secondary hit, but that's cost Fred a lot of positions and brought him right back into the likes of McFarlane and that, who are right on the tail of him now.
Absolutely, and they're battling all the way up the hill. Maybe I should put my teeth in when I try and talk. But you still got Kobe Jones there trying to get through. Linsell, Vaughan, Dyson, all there. They're all thinking about where's the right place to make a move. And now, oh, shut the door, why don't you? Sean Linsell very nearly turned himself on the front of Bradley Vaughan as they went through. Vaughan had to check up to fear an accident.
Very, very close to a possible incident going on there, but nevertheless they've all made it through in one piece. But you can certainly tell that Bradley Vaughan is on a man on a mission and wanting to make his way on forward. Is just ahead. They're going to be side by side between Jones and Shepherd, but Shepherd is going to let Jones go by.
Yeah, Kobe Jones gets the move done. Nicely sorted. There's your leader, by the way, Richard Hampstead. And look at this pack. It's all going to Concertina up again. And they are stuck behind Hampstead. Jarno Trulli's got nothing on Hammer. Oh, yeah, and there's been a change for second, sorry. So Madison Down has got this move done on Cooper Webster while we were looking at Kobe Jones. And the key is this one has been done a fair while.
Certainly has been a fair while, so change for second.
It was into one.
Yeah, it was actually. So change for second is now meaning it's a TTR 1-2. And what is Madison Down going to do? Is he going to sit in behind Richard Hampstead and decide to play backstop for Hampstead, or is he going to decide to go on by?
Absolutely not. These two are 1 and 2 in the championship. 35 points separate them. There is no way that Richard Hampstead and Madison Down play buddy-buddy.
Drivers are very smart though, and Madison knows what he has to do. It's all about being points at the end of the day, so there's no point risking a win if it's going to cost you, because you have to remember Webster's right on their tail as well, so they won't want to be giving too much of an advantage to Webster to possibly throw away a win here.
Well, just look at the train, though. If there is any one mistake out there, everyone is going to jump on it. This train, by the way, is going all the way back to Ethan Grigault in 21st position. 21 drivers fighting for the race lead here at Watkins Glen. What more can you possibly ask for as they crest the rides for the 25th revolution of this circuit and head towards that chicane once again on the brakes? Little looks there, and you can just see here from this panoramic shot how everyone's going through this bus stop at this moment in time. Everybody trying to work it out, and they can see the damage on James Scott's machine, the bonnet completely off the car as he's trying to wrestle with whatever he can to get himself over to the end. Of course, that damage being done after the big hits that were going on earlier.
Constantine has caused the front and the rear of that ZB Commodore to suddenly become a Holden Cruise, with the fact he's missing the boot lid and the rear wing as well, so he won't be in too good of shape in a straight line with all of those missing body panels. But nevertheless, back at the front of the field, the Trans-Tasman pairing have actually started to break away, and Madison Down looks to the inside of Richard Hampstead on the way into turn one. Phil Sell on the inside of Cooper Webster, but no move going to be made there. But the Trans-Tasman duo is still side by side, but Madison Down going to take that position off him and move into the race lead.
And this is crucial for Madison because he's got to put the hammer down now. He's got to really attack and get things going because he knows that Webster's going to go through. Is Hampstead trying to go back at this one? He has to check up, and this allows Webster back to the inside just like that. Webster jumps up into second. Now, that was the wrong way from Richard Hampstead. He went for the difficult move. He should have gone for the easy one back on the inside.
Quite sure what the thinking there was for Hampstead to try and go around the outside when the gap was rapidly closing, but nevertheless it's cost him a spot in the process, and he might actually lose another one as well in a very short time to Jared Filsell as well.
Yeah, he might be down, and that is going to be very, very awkward. Filsell will definitely want to get through, as will the rest of the train here, so this is an important point of the race. You've got to get through the thorns very, very quickly if you want to make something happen. Everybody knows it, and now here comes a little think from Ethan Warren on Jared Filsell. Gilliam's going to send one down the inside as well. Almost contact with Brady Myers as they go through, and that's opened up Andrew Gilliam here for Wayne Burke to get a really good run here as they go through the S's, and just like that, Great Train City, baby. There goes Lee Ellis trying, but he's not going to get there.
Not quite going to get there is Lee Ellis. Now Lee Ellis is going to come under attack from James Scott. He's going to look to try and make him move up the inside on the way down towards the bus stop, but isn't quite going to be able to break late enough as James Scott. And Lee Ellis is going to hold on to that position.
Yeah, for the time being. So some really strong battling going on at this moment in time. Everybody is pretty alert to what they need, and what they need is a bit of calm and a bit of respite to go out there to concentrate on their race and go forward. Anyone still is in with a shot of victory here if they play the strategy card correctly, and that is going to be key as we look at that Trans-Tasman machine of Lee Ellis. Just behind him, the damaged James Scott. You've got Jordan Ross there, Richie Stanaway, Brenton Hobson, Jake Burton, and then the gap starts to form to Tom Freer in 17th position. A bit of side-by-side in the middle. Here's Chris Coxhead going at it with Bailey Fridden, the number 5 car. And as they go through the final corner, we're continuing that scrap to the 90.
Yeah, but it's looking like Coxhead is just going to have to back out of that one and concede the position to Bailey Fred by the looks. But side by side between Greg Galt and one of the DPR cars on the way up through the air.
Briggsy.
Galt's just not quite going to get Briggsy there, and Briggs is going to hold on to that position. But what's going to happen on the way towards the bus stop, Greg Galt's tucked right up behind in the draft. He looks to the inside. Is he going to have enough overlap? It's looking like he isn't, and he's going to have to back out of it.
He is, because that is brilliant, brave braking going through there. Compromised everything, and more side by side. Another DPR car. It's going to be a bit of shuffling there. Straight across the circuit. It's going to go to 100 of Bradley Vaughan. He might get on the radio for that one. He's going to drop a number of places because of it. And round the outside will be his teammate Fred. I'll tell you what, having no spoiler on the back of that car is not going to be doing many favours either.
It won't have a lot of rear grip as a result of no rear wing there, and I'd say there's possibly going to be a redress call coming in shortly for the DPR car. But it's still going on between Briggs and Greg Galt, as Greg Galt's having to go defensive on the way down towards turn one. There's going to be a hold the inside. He's braked ever so slightly later than Briggs has, and he's going to take the position off Briggs. He gets a little bit crossed out of turn one.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a very, very important battle. You can see here, super slow-mo. How close do you want to get to it? I think he just glanced it, actually, there off of the final corner. That's how much the attack is coming in, how much they are pushing this race at this point in time. Jared Filsell dirtied up on the front there from all the rubber build-up and dirt build-up around this circuit. He can't find a way past Richard Hampstead, and it is frustrating. Crucially, Hampstead's using the draft perfectly. He's staying in range with those drivers in front, even though he does have 4 or 5 lap older tyres. Wayne Burke, meanwhile, in the background, side by side with Brady Myers for place as they go through the left, and now they try and sort things out. There's no change for Jared Filsell just yet, but you look a little bit further back, suddenly it's not now what Mr. Wayne Burke fighting for it. It's now Burke defending it here. Andrew Gilliam now, you can see side by side across the stripe.
It's going to look to the inside of Burke up at turn one, and Lee Ellis might follow him through if he's not careful, as Filsell's looking to get a move done and has get that move done on it, Richard Hampstead, and now they've lost those top two massively.
Yeah, that's the difference maker between trying to force a move and naturally finding one. That gap now 7/10 of a second, and they can work and they can push those top two to break away. It's a much easier race when you're only figuring about one person. Glenn Postlethwaite out of the race then as well. So Glenn Postlethwaite is a retirement. We haven't seen what's happened to Glenn, but Glenn is out.
For the split two winner, who was doing all right until that contact earlier on with someone I can't remember, McFarlane that was, sorry, at the carousel, and unfortunately his race has gone from bad to worse, so he's going to be in retirement and not going to be having a good finish to the night.
Oh, very good battle as well here. James Scott just covering all bases against Jordan Ross and doing an absolutely sterling job with the damages that the 088 machine is dealing with at this moment. There is still time for patience. There is still time for battling out there, as we are on lap 31 of 64. Corey Preston not happy on the radio. There's a lunge down the inside in towards turn one. James Scott, nothing you can do about that one.
No.
Wide he goes. Oh, how's he saved it? How has everyone kept it out of trouble? Ross and Stanaway as well, side by side as well, going through. Ross is going to drop way back with this. Freer now fighting, and through's going to go a whole host of drivers in a whole host of moves.
Kurt Stenberg's going to make up another position there, and it's looking like Fraser might size up Freer as well on the way up to the bus stop. No, he's not. He's going to stay in behind, but that was not the way that James Scott will have hoped to have gone out of turn one, and certainly not the way that Tom Freer will have hoped that have gone.
No, absolutely not. Now you can see how much it hurts. Scott now back to 15th place, dealing with Emily Jones for a bit of company. Filsell has closed the gap way back up again, though, here to Cooper Webster. Difference maker, couldn't break a second. You break a second, you're gone. If you don't break a second, we're just joining the train back again, and we have recoupled the carriages.
Certainly have recoupled the carriages a little bit at the moment, as the top 8 are still in there and waiting. The top 10, actually, pretty much the train is at this point for the lead, but pit stops are starting to take place once again. Kobe Jones and Jordan Ross on to the lane, and someone else as well in the background. But it's going to be interesting to see how this is going to work halfway through this race now. So everybody going to start thinking about tyres and fuel.
I'll tell you what, this is important here. Corey Preston's actually getting very leery on the radio as well. It's important that you don't move under brakes, so he's not very happy at all about everything going on. But what I want to talk about is Jordan Ross going for a big undercut here. He's pitting at the halfway stage. He's got to ride that all the way to the end. Now, if he makes that as a decision, he's going to be jumping a whole heap of places, but he's going to be so vulnerable late on. But this, as we have seen, has been a track where it has been almost impossible to overtake. It's been very difficult to overtake cleanly, as your race leader, Madison Down, the reigning champion, is finding out right now that he is pretty much not in the best possible place at this moment.
Yeah, certainly. He isn't in, well, he's in the best possible position, but he's also not at the same time, with the fact that he's going to be the one burning the most fuel, or burning his tyres up trying to lead this race, and just continuing to allow everybody else behind to save fuel. So he's going to have to be a little bit careful here that he doesn't fall into a possible trap. But that undercut is certainly going to be very, very strong for John Ross. He's going to gain a number of places out of it, but the only thing he's going to be hoping for is a safety car, because that'll save his race and we're going to put some new tyres on. But nevertheless, we'll have to see how he's going to go over the course of the rest of this race, with the fact that he's going to take it right to the end on 30-lap old tyres by the end of it. So he's really going to be in struggle street then, but nevertheless, he's going to give it a red-hot go.
Synergy are all in with that. Tom Freer, we saw also diving down into the pits then. The leaders still out there, still giving everything they can. A gap has formed now between Lee Ellis and Richie Stanaway, and that has given a whole lot. There is Tom Freer. He comes out just behind by about 1.6. Jordan Ross are outside of the draft range at this moment, and they've got clean air to play with here at this point. They continue on. Another lap then down. Webster, Philsell, Hampstead, Warren, your top 5 as things look as they go through. And every little time we see a lunge down the inside, it's Andrew Gilliam now sending the pursuit car through, trying to get it done on Brady Myers, and they both slide out wide on the exit. Little bit of door-to-door as they will now make that run up the S's section, and lean on each other, why don't you? And out of it goes, and a bit of contact on top of that. Myers had to lift, Wayne Birkin to the side. Thank you very much. Cookies, Lee Ellis.
Yeah, Ellis is going to draw up around the outside, nearly 3 wide on the way down towards the bus stop. Ellis is going to have a good run here. He's going to draw up alongside with his teammate, but he's going to back out and let Brady on through. I thought Brady was going to end up in the fence there when Burke and him caught bumpers on the way up the S's, but very, very lucky not to end up with a much worse incident. But nevertheless, those 3 scrapping it out seriously hard.
Absolutely, and again, it has left another gap open to Josh Anderson. They're going to have to work over these next few laps to stay with the group. Anyone in that group has a chance of victory, and they've got to be really smart about how they figure out when's the right time to make that call, and who do you cover and who do you not. This is where your allegiances become very important. Who's going to send out the test run, the dummy run, to make that final pit stop, or will it be like the first stint where it gets forced for them with a safety car?
Well, that is certainly going to be the big question, whether we end up with a safety car and they end up coming down onto the lane then, or whether they all decide to run the strategies that they've now got in their heads and pretty much on the table in front of them. That's going to be what we're going to have to wait and see. But who's going to do what? That's the big question, because Richard Hampstead is probably going to be the first, or more than likely going to be the first of this lead pack to pit, with the fact that he's got so much less fuel. But who in these top seven decide to pit when? Who decides for an overcut? Who decides for an undercut is going to be the real telling point come the end of the race.
And I'll tell you what's also telling here, Cam, it's the fact that pit entry is right on the apex of the final corner. So if you are going into the pits, you are going to be compromising the car behind, which means it's more likely than not, if you don't want to lose any time, you follow the car in front of you into the pits.
Yeah, absolutely, because you're going to get walked up and held up so badly out of the final corner, with the fact that the driver in front of you who is pitting is going to be slowing up to make sure they don't end up speeding into the lane or struggling to get into the lane as well. So it'll be interesting to see what's going to happen. I imagine everybody in that top group is going to end up following each other on through and playing follow the leader into the lane, but we'll have to wait and see regardless.
Yep, some great battles up the hill. We look at Cooper Webster now in second position as he tries to really find out what he is made of. The reigning champion in front of him, the 3-time champion behind him as he goes in towards this S's section. Webster's got some of the most brilliant results under his pocket. 3 race wins to his name this season, and he's looking for win number 4. I mean, he's going to have to work incredibly hard in the Altus car to go and get that sorted. So keep that in mind. Burton dropping 3-4 places. Virtual Racing School replay up on screen for you. This is how it all went down, and it was side-by-side. Hobbo looking for the inside, and that is just Jake Burton losing it on entry. No contact at all. That is Burton just getting rears that did not want to go forward, that only wanted to go sideways.
Yeah, I think they got a little bit crossed up there, and as a result, he's going to bring it down onto the lane, and so is the 104 TTR machine of Andrew Fraser to join him on the lane. So it'll be interesting to see how that's all going to play out. And I do wonder if maybe Andrew Fraser being a little bit of a guinea pig as well in some respects here for the TTR crew, but nevertheless, at the front of the field, they're all still single file, still same fuel, still same tyres, still trying to work that strategy in their favour.
Now remember that Andrew Fraser had a very similar length time of his first stop to Richard Hampstead. That indicates to me that Hampstead's going to be in pretty soon here in this one. He's had the chance to save a bit of fuel behind in the draft as well. That has been quite key. But we are now in this sort of stage where everyone's just waiting to see who's going to fire the first bullet. It's like watching cowboys at high noon, so to speak, when they're waiting for the time when they can pull the trigger.
Waiting and waiting and waiting and just waiting for the first person to blink before they end up doing what they need to do. That was very, very close.
Jared Filsell, I think, got a bit of grass on the exit, tagged the wall slightly, as did Andrew Gilliam going through. But now this is interesting. We're getting some good stops coming in now. James Scott comes in, as does Brenton Hobson then for his stop. These drivers, it's going to be interesting to see where they come out, Ethan Gregault as well, in comparison to the likes of those up near the very, very front of the field here, Cam, when we talk about those like, yes, that one, 143, Jordan Ross.
Yeah, absolutely. And bear in mind that Jordan Ross was that early stopper as well. So where he's come out in relation to everybody else is quite some ways ahead of the likes of Jake Burton and that who have pitted. So it's been a beneficial gain for Jordan Ross to have made that undercut strategy. But how he's going to feel later on in this race when those tyres are going to be very, very second hand is going to be the very, very telling point as to whether that undercut is going to work in his favour or not.
Now, Hobson's come out in the middle of all of that, so that tells you all you need to know. Burton out and away with James Scott. They're a little bit further back in terms of where they are at this point in time. So a very interesting battle. Rick Kuznetsov, by the way, has had a drive-through penalty served to him. Probably incident there with one Corey Preston out there seems the most logical and most likely. But Andrew Gilliam is the first domino to fall of the main leaders.
Very, very interesting strategy call, and actually very surprising that he is the first one as well, with the fact that he wasn't one of the first ones to pit. So very, very fascinating that he's decided to use this opportunity to get down onto the lane early and use that undercut strategy to work himself into a position that he might benefit from later on. We'll see where he's going to come out in relation to those who have pitted, and he has jumped Jordan Ross, but not by a lot.
Not by a lot is very, very crucial, because this means that Jordan Ross is very much in this race for the victory here today. These 6 up at the front, they know that there is a whole lot at stake in this race. If they go and throw it all away here in the second half with 26, soon to be 25 laps to go, this is going to be trouble, and they know it's going to be trouble if they don't get what they need. In comes Wayne Burke then to make his stop.
Onto the lane, and a couple of others in the background, as that's a very, very wild entry onto the lane for Kurt Stenberg and Emily Jones just in front of him as well. So those two coming onto the lane, and we'll start to see where they end up slotting out in relation to the likes of Jordan Ross and Andrew Gilliam as well.
Interesting point. Rick Kuznetsov has just unlapped himself on Richie Stanaway.
Not for long, I'd say, based on the fact that Richie's just going to blow him by again.
Yeah, definitely going to blow on by and have a really good run. I am going to apologise to you, ladies and gentlemen, in a couple of moments if things get a little bit noisy on my end. I am not liable to all the sanding that's being done on a garden table outside of my door. So we'll keep an eye on that as things go on. But at least for the moment, Gilliam and Burke, look at where they've come out. They've come out a mile ahead of Jordan Ross. So that is some really good stopping there from those two, and they've got a really nice gap.
Yeah, they've got a very, very nice gap indeed, and they've got a nice little buffer to try and work together with each other to try and now see what they can do against those top 6 and put themselves in a position to get to the point where they can end up being in the lead of this race, possibly.
I tell you what, don't count out Richie Stanaway just yet. Still has an opportunity to really close in and gain if the pit stop works to favour an advantage. So he's in a little bit of an island of his own at this moment, but still 5 seconds off the lead, nothing to shake a stick at this moment in time. The leading group, though, of 7 cars, split by 2.3 seconds, each and every one of them is trying to make sure that they are covering every availability off of this race, and you can just see how aggressive they're going over each and every curb, trying to work out which way is the best way to go and make that move. And you'd wonder at this moment in time whether Cooper Webster is just waiting for the time to pounce on Madison Down. He'd only need a lap of undercut to make it happen. So the question will be, will Madison Down preempt that by diving in first?
You'd have to think that he'd preempt it, but the question of when is going to happen, and it's looking like it's just happened because they've both come in onto the lane just now, and that was very, very close to possibly speeding onto the lane as well for Madison Down. It's very debatable as to whether that would have been a penalty, but we'll find out very, very shortly when he stopped and when he drops, because this is going to be very, very telling, and bearing in mind that those who have pitted earlier, the likes of Gilliam and that, are only just coming through the second last corner as well. So this could be very, very close.
Missed box, Madison Down, just like that. The race lead becomes a huge drama for him. That was not what you needed to do at that moment in time. One missed box on the change from asphalt to concrete, and just like that, it's trouble. There is Gilliam, there is Burke, and there, crucially, in the race lead net now, is going to be Cooper Webster, and Gilliam and Burke jumped Madison Down.
And it's not a lot of time as well, so those two are well and truly on for a very, very good result, and where they're going to end up popping out in relation to the rest of that group is going to be very, very interesting, because they'd be around that sort of area that the likes of Phil Sale, Hampstead and that are in, as Phil Sale decides to shoot down onto the lane, and so does Warren and Anderson.
Oh, this is incredible. Hampstead staying out long on the second stint. Oh, this is really interesting how this is going to play out. So how will this fare? In also is Stanaway to make his stop on top of this as well. So now you start to wonder at this moment, how is this all going to play out? And the bigger question, who dare short Phil?
Yeah, certainly who dare short fuel, because of the fact that it's going to yield a gain, but at the same time, you're going to have to fuel save for pretty much the rest of the race. Here comes down the front straight Cooper Webster, and it's going to be very, very close, and they've all jumped them.
Yeah, they all have. Madison Down's got the move done on Wayne Burke, and Burke now's going to be side by side with the run in comparison to Ethan Warren. Warren jumps Phil Sell in the stop. Anderson, not much you can do about that. So Webster in control of destiny at the front of the field, and this becomes a really important battle. Here comes the move from Madison, trying to get it done. It's too wide, too deep, and they're fighting everywhere. Gilliam holds off his move right now. Ethan Warren, Jared Philsell hold off theirs. What a scrap we're in for the podium.
Yeah, we certainly are. And Hampstead, Myers, and also Lee Ellis have all continued going, so they're conserving fuel massive, and he's got a second and a half, does Webster, over the rest of that train.
Oh, Madison Down's not getting anything from Andrew Gilliam. Phil Saldani inside of Wayne Burke now gets the place as well. And still you wait. Still you think that there's chances. In comes TCA in front of them to make the stop. So that will be a bit of traffic out of the way. Here comes Madison Down on the run to the 90 then. This will be a clean one. There's your race leader, by the way. And there down they go. That is a nicely worked overtake, and immediately through as well. That is opportunistic from Ethan Warren.
Yeah, but very, very well executed from Ethan Warren to get that move done, and it's left Andrew Gilliam to hang up the try. And what that's going to have done is close Jared Philsell right up Now, as they head down towards the bus stop, and Philsell might set up a move here. Looks to the outside of Gilliam on the way down towards the bus stop, but not going to be a move made there. But Gilliam's going to run a little bit deep, and that's going to allow Philsell to try around the outside on the way into the carousel. Hang it tough around the outside, can Philsell. He's going to try and do it as best as he possibly can. Gilliam is not going to give this up, but Philsell going to drive it around the outside of Gilliam like he's standing still.
Well, that's brilliantly done by Jared Philsell. He forced the error out of Andrew Gilliam, and that will be a learning lesson for the Pursuit Sim Racing driver. And all of this, in the meanwhile, has given that gap to Cooper Webster, who has just set the fastest lap of the race, or is about to at this moment. 109.610 at this moment. And there you can see all of it coming into play. Absolutely everything right now is in full exposure as they all try and drive through. That in the pits is Sean Kelly. He was in 4th position at the time as he made that dive into the pits. So that is more work being done, at least at this stage. And Kobe Jones is off the road at the carousel. That might be a safety car.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he's going to be moving anytime soon. So very, very possible safety car here. And what this is going to do, this is going to benefit Richard Hampstead, Brady Myers, and Lee Ellis, because depending on when it gets called, they might just be able to duck into the lane at the right time. They've continued on. So if we get a safety car here, they've just cost themselves the race.
Well, this is the question. Is it a safety car? Is it far enough off the road? Virtual Racing School replay then is going to be on screen for you right now. This is what happened to Kobe Jones. It's contact there with the Mr. Antenna car of Corey Shepherd, who's been making a few friends today, so to speak. But they go through this section, and safety car is deployed. With 19 laps to go, the safety car is deployed. There's the hit as they go through. It just looked to me like Shepherd just eased up, quarter paneled him through the corner, and bang, there's the hit.
Yeah, not ideal at all for Kobe Jones, and not the way that he will have hoped to end the night as well. But what this has done is this has actually given a free kick to Hampstead, Myers, and Ellis. But where they're going to pop out in relation to Webster and that's going to be the big question, because of the fact that they managed to get past the pit exit and they're already halfway around the lap as well. So it's going to be very, very close between them all.
It certainly will do. This is going to be about quick pit crews and quick laps, because they'll still have to go pretty much guns blazing here. Watch them all dive down into the lane. This is going to have to be some pretty rapid pit stops, and they can take less fuel here at this stop because they know they're under safety car conditions and they can save that fuel. This is massively crucial. Worth noting as well that in this condition here, there's no advantage anymore for Cooper Webster. That 2 seconds that he managed to pull off is gonzo at this moment. He's making his way through the final corner. Watch this on the exit. Who's going to be getting who and what? Simon Black out there in the safety car now, this time to get all things sorted. But it looks like they're just going to completely drive by them. The overcut has not worked out, but they've got the freshest tyres of anyone. Brady Myers, best placed. No surprises there. Hampstead had to go long on his stop. Now look at that where you join up. Right in the middle, Myers splits Burke and Gilliam.
Yeah, he certainly does split them both, which is a little bit of an interesting sight to see, but nevertheless, he split them both and he's now in a very, very good position. But bearing in mind, Hampstead was the one that was supposed to pit earliest. He was supposed to take the most fuel. So what he's effectively done is he's now in a position to the point where he's on effectively the same amount of fuel as everybody else around him.
He is. Look at where Richard Hampstead has come out in comparison to everyone else. He's with Wayne Burke just in front of him. It's Brenton Hobson there just behind, and a lot of work being done up and down the order, and a lot of people now have got to be completely aggressive in the final stages. Down 3, the 062 of Richie Stanaway in the Boost Mobile racing car, as he will look to try and get everything he possibly can out of this one. Adam Briggs, tell you what, Adam Briggs is probably your biggest mover in the field. Started 32nd, he's up into 19th place right now, and that sort of drive here, Dyson included as well, that keeps them top 10 in the championship.
Yeah, 100%. Correct there, Sperry, in that they just got to keep on bringing home these consistent results and consistent point scores. That's all that's going to matter. It doesn't matter if you don't get a handful of wins or podiums. If you can just consistently keep scoring points after points after points, you're going to be far better off than someone who's maybe had 2 wins but has had a DNF or something, or far further back result.
Well, everything is sorted then. Kobe Jones has been given the all clear to tow, and we saw that on screen. Cooper Webster then has the lead. Madison Down is second. Ethan Warren third. Phil Sell fourth. Anderson fifth. Gilliam sixth. But watch out for Brady Myers from P7 on the fresh tyres. Remember, ladies and gentlemen, he's never had a SCOPS victory. And if there is any place to get you first, it is this place to go and sort it out. Watkins Glen continues to put on a spectacle over and over again. And because we are now in these final few laps of the race, you know, this is elbows out, knuckle dusters on. This is a full-on fight to the finish.
Yeah, it absolutely is. It's going to be full on to the end here, with the fact it's only going to be around probably, I'd say, 15 lap dash to the end. So it's going to be an absolute crazy race to the end, and there's going to be no fuel saving, no tire saving. It's just going to be all out sprawling.
It is an all-out sprawl, and every driver now is fighting for points. I tell you what, there have been some good gainers in the field as well, who maybe aren't up as many places as that, but still up a pretty good amount. The start 57 for Ethan Warren. Safety car is coming in this lap. Crucial. Brenton Hobson, by the way, up 10 places in this one. Wayne Burke is up 11 into 8th place. Andrew Gilliam started 13th today. He's up into P6 in this race. They have done some wonderful work to get it done and to get some really strong results out of the car so far, but it's not over and done with yet. The pace under control of Cooper Webster. He can choose when he goes after turn 6 to go and attack and get things going. Simon Black in the pace car is going to be diving down into the lane shortly, and look how slow Cooper Webster's taking it. 80 kph, trying to make sure that he is saving every amount of fuel he possibly can, cooling the tyres as well to try and give himself as much life out of it to go out and go forward with it. Madsen Down's got to be alert on when Cooper Webster goes and how long he's going to wait. They're not allowed overlap at this stage, but they are completely nose to tail like they're dealing with traffic. They're going at highway speeds right now, and there's the get and go. And what a start by Cooper Webster. He just found 0.6 of a second on that restart.
Yeah, really, really good start from Webster to leave Madison Down and the rest of the field napping a little bit, but that gap is going to quickly diminish with the fact that Madison Down is going to have Webster's draft on the way up the S's and on the way down towards the bus stop. Few moves being made further back in the field, but for the most part, everybody's made it through in one piece.
They have. Richard Hampstead tried to get a move done quickly on Wayne Burke. He outshot himself, and now he's got to do it all over again. Nice and clean as they take this rise up towards turn number 4 and this bus stop that they go through, the rights and the lefts, the inner loop, some say, around this place. And now you've got that big right to the outer loop to go and follow on top of that. And every single battle's going to be crucial. There's the 143 machine as well in a battle. There is Jake Burton fighting good friend Emily Jones.
I swear we see those two locked together every single race. It doesn't matter what track it is. They're usually on in the same position, racing for the same position at some point or another. So those two are going to have a good royal scrap between those two. But what's going to be happening at the front of the field, who knows? But we get a virtual racing school replay to see what has happened to the lead.
Just a slide here, so we'll keep an eye on that. Hampstead is through on Wayne Burke, by the way. Now watch how much you're pushing up the front. Big slide going through. Slow-mo work. Just a little bit obscured there by Jared Philsell. No surprises, does like the cameras, does Jared. But just like that, all just in a huge battle. And I tell you what, they are chopping and changing the beams at the front. I tell you what, Cooper Webster's got to have the widest Altus machine in all of New York if he is to try and get what he wants. And he's taking just slightly different lines, trying to open up exits here to give himself buffer margin in towards certain sections. We know Madison's good out of the final 2 corners.
Yeah, Webster's trying very, very hard, doing everything he possibly can to give himself a little bit of an advantage, but we know where Madison Down is strong. We know where the Altus car is strong. We know where the rest of the TTR crew as well as Jared Fulsell are strong. So it's going to be all about making sure that you can hold on that last lap and make sure that you're not going to be in trouble for those final 2 corners, because you know who's going to be there waiting to pounce.
And there goes Brady Myers. He's through on Andrew Gilliam. That's a big move. We know that Myers has got the freshest tyres of anybody, and he's got to really harass and hassle if he's to go through, because he's about a second back on that train in front. He's got to catch it. Here comes the move for the race lead. Madison Down goes to the outside. Try and get this one done on Cooper Webster, who keeps it in under the throttle.
No.
Oh, the teammates. There, that was not ideal at all. Shepard gets a penalty, by the way, but Ethan Warren, I think, just gave a shot to the back of the team boss.
He certainly let Madison know he was there and ready to pounce, but well over optimistic was that move from that far back. I think he just outbroke himself by the looks of it, just broke a little bit too late, locked the rears, and just had nowhere to go but into the back of Madison Down and give him a little bit of a shove.
I tell you what, though, Madison Down did really well to not get an iRacing slowdown penalty for all of that going across the chicane like he did. Very, very lucky he was. They hit the brakes in towards 1 once again at the 90, and the pack now forms back up again, and it's all the way back to Lee Ellis at this stage. So still some incredible battling, a little bit of too wide back there as Jordan Ross now side by side with Emily Jones as they go up the crest of the rise through 2 and 3. Jones having it covered nicely there through 3, and a good move done.
Yeah, very, very good.
Oh, for the lead again.
Is on, but it's on for the lead as Madison Down up the inside of Webster, and move completed this time around. So Madison Down moves it into the lead of the race, and here comes Ethan Warren with a very, very optimistic move and very good car control from Cooper Webster, showing the bumper even more again through the carousel, but nearly could have ended in tears there.
That is where real-world experience comes into play for Cooper Webster. He got a handle of that save absolutely fantastically. And now this race continues on without any need of drama as they go on through. Everybody is racing to 101% limit at this moment in time. And get this, ladies and gentlemen, we've still got 12 laps to figure this out. So they've still got time to go and work out where the moves is. Here comes, not Myers necessarily, but behind that is Richard Hampstead through now on Andrew Gilliam. So Hammer now starting to find some pace in places.
Certainly is starting to find a little bit of pace, and he's trying to move his way up forward back to where he was prior to the safety car, which was at the front of the field. But what's going to happen? Madison Down's going to go defensive. Webster's going to look to the outside at the bus stop.
Oh, he's out.
Going to get it done.
He's outdone himself, though, here, and they're all going to check up. Oh, they're all into each other. They're Madison Down's in the fence, and now Phil Sell trying to fight hard for it. He gets a little bit of a turn. He somehow saves the car, and suddenly Ethan Warren has the race lead, and Webster starts attacking back again.
And Warren's going to make this as hard as he possibly can. There's going to be not enough of a run for Webster to get this done, but just in the background, Myers up the inside of Andrew Gilliam, and Gilliam's going to lose another place here. Hampstead's going to sit in behind Gilliam, but what is going to happen at the front of the field? Is Ethan Warren possibly going to get a win here?
Is he possibly? He's still searching as well as Ethan Warren for his first race win in SCOPS. Is it his time to shine? Here comes Phil Sell back down the inside, then looking at turn number 1. He's going to make some door-to-door contact. Round goes Gilliam almost, and Gilliam calls for race control. They all swarm, they're 3 wide. Phil Sell gets ping-ponged around as he goes through the middle of the section, and somehow he's still got a car that's pointing in the straight direction.
How he came out of that with a straight car, I've got no idea. That should have ended so much worse, but it's all going on further back. Webster tries to get the move done, but it's not quite close enough that time around.
Oh, he's got Anderson behind in third. Myers, best tyres of all, in P4. What a job the stewarding team are going to have to do to dissect that, because it was a 4-part rail cannon chain reaction. It was almost like it's going on, and it's still going on here because you've got Hampstead and Phil Sell going at it. You've now got Gilliam and Jones, Hobson and Madison Downs there, and then Burton, Ross and Scott are all just bystanders to this one. There's going to be contact then as they go through, and continues on. There's a big one, a big wreck at the back. The 947 with a blown engine. Dyson in trouble. This should be a safety car if it's all stopped.
would be a safety car. I'd say that's probably not going to happen. And a TTR car was involved in that as well. I think that was Fraser, but not 100% sure.
Not 100% sure. They're still battling. This is huge. They go up the hill as they still continue to try. Is everybody safe at the moment is the real question. But once more, the mid-pack continues as they go through. Safety car is deployed with 10 laps to go at Watkins Glen.
You can't make this up. You really cannot. So I think it's time we put seatbelts on, and it needs to be a 6-point harness because this is about to get real hectic real fast.
There is so much to dissect from that. Here's the incident then. So, oh my goodness gracious me. That is the biggest hit I have ever seen at Watkins Glen. He went up and over and he was heading straight up to the stratosphere with that one. It was Sean Kelly who got caught up in it. Now let's see how this one went wrong for Sean. So Dyson's fighting hard with Bradley Vaughan. They're 3 wide as they go through here. And look at this. The door opens almost 4 wide as they drive on through. Kelly makes that move down the inside. Is it contact on the exit that gets him? It's contact on the exit that gets him. He didn't leave enough room.
Unfortunately, Dyson and co involved in that of not their own doing either. Blackburn, the big loser out of that, who's blowing his engine as well as Dyson. So not what they will have wanted, but we'll get another Virtuals Racing School replay as well, and we'll dissect what's happened with Madison Down and find out how this all came unstuck for him.
Well, they all just ran into each other. It's Phil Cell into the back of everybody that I think causes the chain reaction. So Madison Down effectively gets dumped in terms of this, and probably an aerial coverage is the best way that we're going to see this one as they go through. So there's Madison Down. He's got control. Now, they're all going to use the draft to move up through this section of road. As you can see, there's Cooper Webster, there's Ethan Warren, there's Jared Philsell, and there's a bit of side-by-sides they go through. It's lifted out, but as they go into the next section, it's Philsell into the back of everyone that sends the chain reaction.
Wonder as well if Madison just overshot the bus stop a little bit on the entry, and it caused them to have to slow up a little bit, which then also checked everybody else up. So yeah, very, very odd one, but nevertheless, that's dropped Madison Down way down the order from where he was back in 11th at the moment. But this restart is going to be very, very spicy, and I don't think you can count out anyone inside that top 10 at all, because there's so many drivers who are going to come through off this start, and there's so many drivers who are going to be able to hold on and get to the front.
Ethan Warren has control of this race. Cooper Webster, of course, in second. You got Anderson and Myers, third and fourth, also searching for first wins. Wayne Burke's got one to his name. He got his at Interlagos in 2020, I believe, on a reverse race. 2019 on a reverse race. So there is still work to be done. Lee Ellis up there in P6. And I can tell you something right now, the title contenders, Hansted is 9th, Madison Down is down there in 11th place, and James Scott in 15th. So it seems like there has been a whole lot of chop and change, and this is a real chance to go get some points on with a lot of drivers outside of places that they traditionally be. And my word, are we in for a thrill at this stage, pacing behind Simon Black in the Oceanic Sim Racing safety car.
In for a thrill, and racing will resume at the end of this lap as well. So we're about to get racing, and we're going to have a 7-lap dash to get home from here.
7 laps to figure it all out, and now this is all about what do you do. Josh Anderson and Ethan Warren are going to fight with everything they've got, but Brady Myers is probably the best placed of everyone with the tyre life that he's got left.
Yeah, 100% right. He's got the best tyres out of everyone. And with the fact that he's sitting in 4th, he can easily pick all 3 of these guys off in front of him, one at a time. He doesn't have to rush it as well. He's got 7 laps to do it. So even if he doesn't take the shortest amount of time to do it, he's got a reasonable amount of time to do it, and he's got a number of opportunities where he could possibly set up a move as well. So we'll have to wait and see if he can use those tyres or not to get a win on the board, or whether it's going to be Webster or Watt taking the win.
Apparently we're still on replay here, ladies and gentlemen. For some reason it's saying that we are on replay, but we are live here with action right now here from this Watkins Glen circuit. And this is Ethan Warren. We are fully live, we are fully ready, we are fully set Ethan Warren with control. 7 laps to figure out a winner of your 2 Easy Finance. Watkins, Glen 250. Ethan Warren can choose exactly when he wants to go. He might even decide to coordinate with some teammates behind if he wants to, but he gets that go through the mid part of the corner, tries to get the launch. It's a good launch there, but it's not good enough. He will be under attack immediately. Wayne Burke is going incredibly defensive back there in 5th place as we get back underway. That's Lee Ellis trying to go around the outside to pick it up. Phil Sell with a huge lunge as well down the inside. He's going to try and get through on Gilliam, and he gives him the door for a bit of trouble as well.
Very, very good move by Phil Sell, but now he's going to be coming under attack with the fact that he's got Hampstead in front of him, and he's got Emily Jones, Madison down, and Andrew Gilliam all on his tail, hotly after him.
Hot pursuit indeed. Emily Jones now has got to be very careful. Has that technical partnership, of course, with Trans-Tasman. So Madison down behind. Every reason to fight for it. Gilliam in the mix as well. Now back there in 12th place overall at this stage. There is the 89 machine in a good position as well as they now make that charge go through. So it looks like a redress coming in for Jared Philsell potentially there as he has to let it all go and allow Andrew Gilliam back through.
Be too happy with that either will Phil Sell, but rules are rules at the end of the day, and he's going to have to let it on, let the redress happen regardless of whether he likes it or not.
This is awkward.
This is really, really awkward as it's bunching the entire field up behind. Gilliam's going to get on by up the inside.
Oh my goodness.
See Hobbo having a go, and Burton's going to be in there as well.
Redress is not complete, and that's crucial to note here. Phil Sell's got to let a full car width go. It's not done as he goes through. Big drift. He saves it. My word. How do you go tandem 2 sideways as he goes through? That is incredible. Meanwhile, we got a race lead battle as well, and everything just going on everywhere. Richie Stanaway's in the middle of this.
A little bit blocked in there, trying to find his way on through. Got nowhere to go. Trying to get on by the Altus car of James Scott, but back at the front of the field, Ethan Warren continuing to hold the lead of this race. Joshua Anderson looming in behind Webster as well, waiting for an opportunity. Brady Myers patiently biding his time as well, and it's going to be 5 to go this time by.
6 podiums in his career, Brady Myers. None of them have been a race victory. Cooper Webster's got 3 race wins this season. He wants a 4th. Ethan Warren's had a couple of pole positions, hasn't had a race victory to his name. And what a season Josh Anderson's been having so far. He'd love to pick up a victory here and get exactly what he wants. But now it's about the drive up the hill once again. With 5 laps to go, when is the right time to make the move is the all-important question that car 37 of Cooper Webster is thinking.
That is the big question. When do you make the move, and how do you make the move as well? Goes defensive, does Ethan Warren. Webster's going to look around the outside. He's not going to be late enough on the brakes. He's going to have to sit in behind for another lap. Another opportunity gone for Webster.
Yeah, but they still now have to be cautious. They're going to bring Wayne Burke and Lee Ellis onto the back of this train, and that's going to be another point of contention they've got to be alert to. The more they start checking up and trying to go too wide, the more they're going to slow this pack down, the more other people are going to get involved. Myers trying to get in the mirrors, rule 101 of sim racing. Get in the mirrors if you can, and now you're starting to figure out where you can go. Here goes Stanaway down the inside. He's trying to get a move done on James Scott.
Contact between the 2 of them as well, but no move going to be complete, and he's going to have Todd Parks for company as well. Stenberg's going to try around the outside and just going to be able to get it done.
Oh my. Here goes an attempt. Myers trying to get through on Anderson, and Anderson's having none of it.
Yeah, Anderson going to let Brady have that one very, very easily. So Brady going to stay in behind Joshua Anderson. This has really brought Burke and Ellis, and also Hampstead is not a million miles away from the tail end of this train. And what that's also done is it split the top 2, get a little bit of a breakaway from the rest of the field.
It has given them the break, and crucially, that will help Webster more than Warren. Warren wants carnage behind. He wants chaos so he can hold on. If he's only got Cooper Webster to worry about, that's a little bit more troublesome as they make those drives. We're on lap 61 of 64. Lap 62 starts next, and then, of course, those all-important final 2 laps are coming into play as they enter turns 6 and 7 once again. 6 to the dance as they try and go through. You could say 8 to the dance there with Emily Jones and Richard Hampstead in the background. Opportunities knocking here for all drivers right now in the heat here at Watkins Glen. And now with 3 laps to go, is this the lap where Webster's got a chance? This probably is the best one he's had yet, as Johnstone's not happy.
Not happy at all with what's been going on further back, but Webster's got an almighty run. He's as close as he's been in the last few laps. Is he going to be able to finally get a move done into the bus stop? Closing and closing, using the drafter's advantage. Warren goes defensive, looks to the outside, does Webster on the way into the bus stop. They're going to be side by side, drawing alongside. Webster's going to go contact between the two, and the Webster's off the road.
Webster is around, and just like that, any hopes of a victory are shattered late on. It's heartbreak for Cooper Webster as he will now rejoin behind Phil Sell, behind Stanaway, behind a whole host of other drivers. Now the Trans-Tasman trio are there at the front. Now figure it out. All 3 of them want their first race win of the year, of their season, of their careers. And you've got Wayne Burke there and Richard Hampstead who also want in. Now you've got to figure it out between you, because one of you's going to get there. Big slide going through from Brady Myers with 2 and a bit to go.
A very big slide, and what's that's done is promoted Burke onto the podium. Lee Ellis into 4th. Lee's going to look up the inside of Wayne Burke at turn 1. Not going to be able to get enough momentum, and that's going to allow Brady Myers to try around the outside, but he can't do it either, and that stacked them all up.
It certainly has. Remember, Emily Jones is looking for a career best top 5 finish. She's in 7th right now. She's been on the cusp of that at multiple races this season, and she's on the back of this train with Richard Hampstead. Now it's Anderson versus Warren at the front, and here goes Josh Anderson trying to think of a move here, but Ethan Warren's going to cover it off here, lap 63 and a half.
Cover it off. He's just got to do one more lap, does Ethan Warren, and he's going to have a victory in his hands. But whether Anderson is going to be able to put a fight up and bring home a victory, that is the big question. And if these two come together, bear in mind, Wayne Burke is sitting back there patiently waiting for something to happen, and he could easily steal this race victory.
Well, now you've got to be really alert now. You've got to make sure that you are in the mix. Everyone is on tenterhooks. Strap yourself in. 1 lap to go at Watkins Glen. We've been here before. There's Barney the flagman waving like crazy as he knows what it's all about. Anderson into 1. Now needs a monster run against Ethan Warren. And oh no, there's contact between the teammates behind. It was contact between Ellis and Myers. Myers trying to get through, still contact. And that's going to allow Emily Jones now try and sneak down the inside with contact as they go through. Jones now up into P6, tying her career best. But now you've got Anderson still trying to figure out this move on Ethan Warren, trying to figure it out. Is there enough room to the inside? No, there's a lift, but there's still a chance at 6 and 7. And it will have to be 6 and 7. It's the only places left. You're going to get it done. They still fight for that top 5 behind, of course. And you've still got the likes of Madison down making great progress. Gilliam is there. Hampstead's been demoted back down to 8th place as they go through. But now a car length between Anderson and Warren. Warren's just got to stay calm. No mistakes from here. You can taste it from here at this point, Ethan, as he goes through turn 6. Turn 7 awaits. There's no chance for Josh Anderson. Ethan Warren gets his first win in Scops, and he does so with a sterlingly calm drive. What a race we've just seen.
Fantastic job by Ethan Warren to hold off the charge from Joshua Anderson. He nearly didn't quite hold it as there's contact in the line between an Altus car.
Yeah, the Altus car is, I believe, Cooper Webster there. So he was on the line and he got past there. It was contact with the DPR car as well. So Webster got the wall. The DPR car got a little bit sideways as well. I think there was Ethan Grigolton there. It was Adam Briggs in the end, who only gets 19th because of it. Well, everything just happened there towards the end. Wow.
There's literally no words for that. That was just absolute madness. You could not have predicted that was going to be the outcome of the race based on qualifying, based on the entire first half.
Based on everything, that was incredible. So let's have a look at this one, dissected in more detail. There is Cooper Webster trying to recover, fighting with the Trans-Tasman car here, going into the final corner of the race. The Trans-Tasman car washes out, gives a bit of contact there, and then all of a sudden, Grigolt's trying to thread the gap. Adam Briggs isn't giving any of it. He backs out of it, and ultimately, well, you finish the line in the grass like it's one of those camping truck races over at, I believe it's Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. So what an incredible finish there in the mid-pack. But there are stories up and down the order of incredible results here around this one. A first career victory for Ethan Warren in the 59 Trans-Tasman machine. Now, remember what happened when Dane Warren got his first win. A lot of wins soon followed after. Ethan Warren in number 59, an hour, 23 minutes, and 7 seconds worth of toil and graft and everything else in between. And he gets the win by just a 10th over Joshua Anderson in second position overall. Huge shout out to Wayne Burke. He started 19th in this field today. He's got a podium for Synergy and a huge podium for them as well. They will be absolutely chuffed as they go back to their virtual garages. Lee Ellis will pick up 4th place, and it is a first ever top 5 in SCOPS for Emily Jones in the number 51 machine. She's done a wonder to get to that position, with Brady Myers finishing P6 and Madison Down, after being in the lead, being ferried into the wall in a 4-car chain reaction. Still a testament to his driving. P7, what a drive from Madison Down. Andrew Gilliam will be the first of the Fords in 8th place, with Richard Hamstead in 9th. Used strategy to get himself up near the front of the field. Had to work hard late, but it didn't quite work. And then Jake Burton, of course, a former winner around this place, rounding out the top 10.
And going to be the car just outside the top 10. Full Cell, the man who started on the front row, dropping all the way back to 12 in the end. John Ross is going to come home 13th. James Scott, not a great night for him, after starting 3rd on the grid, comes home 14th. Stenberg rounds out the top 15, and then Richie Stanaway in 16th. 17th to Ethan Gregolt, with Cooper Webster coming home in 18th after that drama in the final few laps. Adam Briggs and Tom Frere round out the top 20.
Yep, the top 20 all sorted out. And then we look at 21st position. Then it's Andrew Fraser, who was up and down and all around today. Bailey Fred in 22nd. Corey McFarlane in 23rd for the Drop Bear team, with Corey Shepherd, who found himself making quite a few friends today in 24th place. Damon Mulqueen, quite a drive from Damon. We didn't really see much of him on cameras, but 25th is still a strong result, with Kenneth Latter 26th. Bradley Vaughan is 27th. Rick Kuznetsov had a drive-through penalty, had a little fight, of course, out there with one Mr. Richie Stanaway, gets 28th in the end, with Damien Johnstone 29th and Chris Coxhead in 30th.
Over the page, and you're going to have Sebastian Tixier being the final car on the lead lap. Sean Linsdale going to be the first car 1 lap down, and then Andrew Dyson, Sean Kelly, Tyler Blackburn, Kobe Jones, Corey Preston, Glenn Postlethwaite, John Caruso, and Jake Maloney, all retirees from today's race.
Yep, all retirees, so some troubles then here, especially early on. Caruso's blown engine was the first caution out there, and a lot of dramas came in on the board. We are going to very quickly jump into some post-race interviews, and we're going to start things off with the driver who finished in 5th position overall, her first ever top 5 when it comes to SCOPS. This is Emily Jones. Emily, that was a very tough race out there today. You started 21st. Qualifying was always going to be very tough, but it seemed like you pick and chose your moments and just found yourself quietly making your way up the field.
I'm surprised that's my first top 5. I thought I would have done it before, but I haven't. That's kind of cool. Yeah, it was a very crazy race. I started 21st and made it to the 5. I don't know. It was kind of the final stint was just nuts, and I kind of got into a zone. And you know when you like stop recognizing like passing moves and you just start following gaps, and I don't know. I kind of zoned out and I made up like 10 positions. I'm like, oh, this is going well, and then the race was over. It was good.
Well, the race is certainly going well for you, and let's just talk about those final few laps, because it seemed like everyone got crazy. Everyone was trying to find a position here and there. You find that pass on one of your Trans-Tasman, I would say, technical partners out there at that moment in time, and we just got it on screen right now, the pass on the 22, of course, of Brady Myers. How important was it to get that move and to get on the inside on the final lap, knowing that, you know, there wasn't going to be an opportunity left if it wasn't going to be for that?
Yeah, look, it was normally we're really good in the Discord about helping each other out and kind of fighting together. But during the final safety car, I'm pretty sure, I can't remember who it was, but they were like, hey, it is every driver for themselves at the end here. Like, it's kind of like we have to be nice and try not to crash into each other, but also like it's on. So just be ready for it. And yeah, that's what we all did. We had the elbows out. We were all fighting each other at the end. And I don't know. I saw the opportunity with Brady. I went for it. I made the B pillar by the time we made contact. So yeah, I think it was fine. I think, but it was, you know, it's contact. Like this is a super speedway of SCOPS racing. So you have to go for the moves. Sometimes you do rub panels, but you know, it is what it is, I guess.
Very aptly said, and especially as well for you, Emily. It seems like this season has been just a level above that we've seen from any other from you so far. How important has that partnership with McLaren Shadow shaped the way that you've been improving as a driver?
Yeah, it's kind of it's nice to have a bit of confidence from like a an F1 team to kind of back me. It's been kind of awesome, and I don't know, it's really nice to get some good equipment this year. Like the last kind of seasons I've been running on really the same rig that I've used for like 10 years basically, and it was like an old G27 and like I wasn't even driving on load cell pedals last year, so I'm on a full VRS direct force pro this year, and I've got hoisting belt ultimates, and I'm in like a big 80/20 track racer rig, and I don't know, it's very comfortable, and I feel like it's just making the difference. I feel like I can be so much more consistent with everything.
Well, the difference for you was very much made. Before we let you go, Emily, shout out sponsors. Anyone you'd like to thank after a first ever P5 finish here in SCOPS?
Yeah, all those brands I just said then, thank you so much. Thanks to Will from Boosted Media, another YouTube channel, for lending me his pedals. And yeah, shout out to Fatboy Slim as well, great band. And yeah, no, thanks to McLaren Shadow as well, and Veloci. It's been a lot of fun. And TTR, TTR's the best. I feel like there's, you know, it's up and down. We have a lot of cars at the front, but we're all having such a great time just racing together. So it's a really good vibe to be in TTR at the moment.
Absolutely. Emily Jones, a top 5 finish, and every reason to be excited by that. Cam, I believe you have found yourself the race winner overall, that being Ethan Warren.
And Ethan, in a very, very well-driven race, mate. You got to be very, very happy with that.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know what to say. I wasn't expecting that result tonight. I came into this one with sort of okay pace, but yeah, my race pace was definitely not there.
Yeah, it's a little bit on the lacking side, but nevertheless, during obviously a few safety car periods, and obviously there's a little bit of strategy involved in terms of fuel saving and making sure you guys were going to get far enough into the race. Was there any specific strategy? Were you guys going for more of an undercut, or were you trying to work towards an overcut strategy?
Honestly, in that first stint, we're just saving as much as we could. Yeah, and then in the second stint, it was pretty much the same thing. There was no specific strategy for me. I just followed what the car ahead did, and yeah, it seemed to work out pretty well.
Nevertheless, and now in that last quarter or so of the race, it all kind of went off, and obviously you guys don't have any team orders, I'm pretty sure. Were there any sort of moments where you thought, I might not actually have this, or was it all going to plan more or less based on how you were going through in those last few laps?
Yeah, I just wanted to keep a nice and cool head and keep Ando behind, and he was coming up pretty quick, and I knew he was going to have a bit of a send on me, but yeah, he decided to stay behind, and it was all pretty clean.
It's a very, very good night for you with a victory and a nice haul of points as well. Shout out to sponsors and anyone you like to thank.
Yeah, massive thanks to the whole team. They put in a lot of effort this week to get a good set together, and yeah, it was a mega car. So yeah, can't thank them enough. And to all our sponsors, Virtual Racing School, Bianchi Model Cars, Parenzo, Extreme Motor Trimming, and Cardifex Model Cars.
It's very reasonably happy Ethan Warren, and a first-time winner, and I believe you are standing by with Madison down.
I absolutely am. I am talking with Madison here because, of course, we don't have the opportunity to talk to Lee Ellis here today. But Madison, let's just talk about your race first and foremost before we go over the team. Yes, it's a great result for the team, but for you, a very unfortunate hit late on for you in that race. One which ultimately a chain reaction cost you a whole heap of points.
Yeah, not ideal for myself personally in the number one VRS car, but yeah, we had really good pace and we played our strategy really well. I mean, everything was looking quite good. Made a little 1% mistake, overshot my pit box in the last stop, which arguably, you know, cost me a little bit there. But things were looking quite good on the safety car restart. But I made a little error when I passed Cooper, and I defended into the bus stop from him, who had a big draft. He was looking at passing me, and I ran down the inside. I slightly outbroke myself, ran a little bit hot, really tried to slow it up through the middle to try and keep it on the track. And unfortunately, when you've got 7 or 8 cars, you know, nose to tail in a big draft train, the car 4 or 5 cars back doesn't see that the leader's really, you know, overdone it. So yeah, just everyone into the back of me, unfortunately, and put me into the fence. But yeah, as you mentioned, mega effort for the team, and also Ethan with his first win. Like that's a mega result for him. And Lee P4, Emily P5, even Endo P2. He's been down recently, so to see the team get a result like that is mega.
It certainly is. And well, let's just talk Lee for a little bit here. Driver who is, I think, by the best of understandings, a very up and down style driver. There's some tracks he's absolutely amazing at, other tracks you find him nowhere near the top. But today seemed to be a track that gelled well for him, and a race that, by all intents and purposes, you know, he can feel really proud about getting a P4.
Absolutely, he's been really fast all week. And Watkins, as he said, is traditionally a track that he goes quite well at. But it's not just that. He's been working pretty hard behind the scenes as well. He's seen, I guess, all his teammates getting good results, and he's wanted a piece of that action, and he's really put in the effort in the last few rounds, and you're starting to see those results coming now. I mean, to qualify P7 in this field at Watkins Glen and then race to P4, and it didn't all go his way in the race either. He was in a few incidents throughout it, and fortunately he was able to keep the car in the mix there all race long, and you know, to get a P4 for him, he's absolutely stoked. And yeah, as I said, it's a really well-deserved result.
Alton Park on the 18th of July is the next port of call for us here. 200k sprints and a reduced field grid of 35 cars. How difficult is pre-qualifying going to be in that respect, knowing that there's going to be an even bigger crunch to try and get onto the grid?
Pre-qualifying for us as a team should be okay. Mostly we've got the pace to be there relatively easily, so pre-qualifying for us as a team shouldn't be too much of a problem. But I think for some of the mid-pack teams, those extra 5 spots will make a really big difference. So yeah, for sure, those 5 spots will be noticeable. But Alton Park, great track. It's going to be hard to pass there, which is probably the biggest concern. So strategy is really going to come into it, and I think qualifying speed, it's always important, but it's going to be super important there. It's a very narrow track that's got very limited spots to pass. So yeah, Alton Park, haven't driven there for a little while, so it'll be good to get back there, but it is going to be a lot about qualifying.
A lot about qualifying then is going to be in the books. But Madison, before we let you go, on behalf of Lee as well, shout out sponsors, anyone you'd like to thank.
Yeah, look, just the whole team at TTR. You know, everyone's worked their backsides off this week to get this car in the window. We've been creeping up on it a little bit. Obviously, we had a good round at Donington, but as a team, I think we had a better result tonight. As I said, it didn't go my way tonight, but big thank you to everybody at TTR for the work they're putting in. The setup was really good over one lap and a race. Also, Virtual Racing School, we've been using that religiously. So Virtual Racing School, primary sponsor on my car and a sponsor of the team. So we've been using that data analysis software religiously, and that's a big part of the results as well. But Xtrim, Parenzo, Bianti Model Cars, Tim Pattinson Design, Cartefex Design with the model cars. There's a lot of sponsors to thank, but thanks to everyone for getting it done for us. It's been a mega week, so bring on the next round.
Bring it on indeed. Madison down, 7th place for him. Joining us on behalf of Lee Ellis, 4th position overall. Cam, I believe you found Josh Anderson here a podium finish, which will be very much worth its weight in gold.
Second place, it wasn't quite a win. You almost got it, but nevertheless, a very, very good night for you.
Yeah, thanks, guys. It just wasn't quite on the cards tonight. Ethan drove really well, and I'm really stoked that he got the win. I was definitely, you're a racing car driver, you want to have a crack, but it wasn't on the cards tonight. But I'll take second. I've been a bit up and down recently, or for a long time really. So it's good to have some good results, and then to try and, even though I had a technical issue in qualifying, I only got one lap and I was having a few dramas. with my display settings and stuff. And I didn't crack. I just, kept my head down and saved a fair bit of fuel early on. I probably took too much fuel in the stop, which set me back track position wise. But yeah, I'll take second. I think the last stint was pretty full on. But that's racing. We just got to try and negotiate that as best we can. And I think I was relatively happy with how tonight went.
Very, very good night for the team overall. Now, were you guys working to a strategy in some form initially? Were you trying for an overcut or an undercut, or was it just play it by ear the whole time?
Well, I found that the undercut wasn't really that great in my testing. So I wanted to get at least have some, like if for example, Gillian pitted a couple laps before me, I knew I needed a couple laps of tire differential from over him. But other than that, you just got to let the race play out. Like, we don't have, and especially because with some issues I had no JRT, no nothing. So I was sort of doing a lot on the fly. So I was probably conservative in my strategy. But yeah, you just, ideally what you want is to finish the race with no fuel left and use all the grip in the tires that you've got. I probably didn't maximize that tonight, but I think that going for pitting slightly later than, let's say, Madison and Andrew and so on, probably paid dividends. I think Brady would have been really strong because he pitted quite late, and the safety car probably helped him catch back up to us. But I think he had a few issues quite late in the race, which put pay to that. But yeah, no, it was a good race, and I'm stoked for Ethan.
Well, we head to Alton Park in a few weeks' time for the next round of things. Looking forward to it, and thoughts on the track?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Alton. I quite like the goat tracks, to put it bluntly. I think they're technical, enjoyable to drive, hard to pass. It's basically impossible to pass in a supercar around there. But if we can get the car working well, which I think we did tonight, we've been getting smashed, especially over one lap in the past few rounds. So I think I worked fairly hard, or the whole team worked fairly hard to remedy that, and I think we can have a good car for Alton. And then if we qualify well, get the process right, let the race play out, I think we can get a good result.
Nevertheless, shouts, sponsors, and who gets it done for you guys at TTR?
Yeah, well, as Madison said, everyone at TTR, we've been working mega hard to close the gap to Altus in the last few rounds. And I think we did a good job of that this weekend. We put in a lot of hours of effort and, multiple practice races, and everyone was really contributing and putting in a lot of work, which is what you want to see. And then obviously our major sponsors, VRS, as Mad said in his interview. I won't just repeat verbatim what he said, but we've been using it a lot. It's invaluable software. It's the reason why you can really, Ethan probably didn't do as many laps as what I did, but he was able to use the software to get up to speed quickly. And that's invaluable. And yeah, my personal sponsor, Prenzo, sponsored me in Aussie Racing Cars, BNTA, TP Race Design, all the other guys that get it done for us. Thank you. And you guys for broadcasting, because it's always good to, after a good result, to sit back and watch a broadcast.
Yeah, but very, very happy, Josh Anderson, with a podium finish tonight, and very, very good night overall, Sperry, and what a race it was.
What a race it was indeed, and Watkins Glen again has proven why it is a staple on this calendar, why it is, as Emily Jones said, the super speedway of Scops, and this is truly an incredible place to go and get some racing. Of course, as we said, it's the 18th of July that we'll be back with you, ladies and gentlemen. That will be for Alton Park, and you want to check that out with us. If you haven't had the chance to already, you can like, share, and subscribe for more amazing content brought to you by the team here, of course, at SimSpeed TV, who brings racing almost every single day of the working week and beyond. Of course, a massive thanks has to go to the team getting it done, Oceanic Sim Racing, running this league, along with Too Easy Finance here, sponsors of the round, and of course, the Virtual Racing School title sponsors of V8SCOPS 2021, and of course, sponsors of the replays on top of that. From Jay Kennedy on the cameras, from myself, of course, Jake Sperry and Cameron Dance alongside me, Alton Park is the next destination. 200k sprints are going to be very much on the horizon. Who is going to find themselves with enough momentum to generate, as it will be back-to-back weeks following Alton Park, and then after that, enduros go into full view. Some say it's the last chance to impress. Some say that Altus kicked this one down the road and need to find a way to get it back again. They were very unfortunate here today, but it's the Trans-Tasman team that can smile the brightest with that result, and most crucially, a first big win for Ethan Warren. Every reason to be excited with that result. Every reason to be happy and thrilled with what is a first of what many hope to be many. We'll see you what is a few weeks from now as we take our trip back over towards Liverpool, England. See you then.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now. He's got traction. He's got everything outside of both of them. Maloney. Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to him. Oh my God. Big crash. Oh my goodness. Half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys I want to make their way through the field very quickly. Oh, there we go. Oh no. That's massive. This is it. This is over. I can't believe this. Oh my God.
God, what?